monster! We all go a little mad sometimes.
You won, and I died!
A few Lucy, yeah! They're coming to get you, Barbara.
How's it hanging, Phil?
Fuck the front time, bitch!
Come and get it! So either put the gun down now, or kiss your ass goodbye.
Let's get this party started.
I agree, Dana. Let's get this party started. So, welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge.
And I'm Ashley Sledge.
And let's talk horror. So, today we are joined by an esteemed panel of all first-time live guests. And this has not happened for us in a very long time. 3 people that mean the absolute world to Ashley and I. Let's start over here with Ryan. Hey, Ryan, can you tell everybody a little bit about what you do?
I am an indie filmmaker. I do a lot of YouTube films, and I am also a model and cosplay photographer.
Which
Awesome.
I cannot wait to work with you someday. We've talked about this in depth, and we need to make this happen.
Mm-hmm. We have a great idea for a photo shoot. We're going to make it happen.
Oh, it's going to be sick. I promise you that. And then down here below me, I got my dude, Steve Roman of Fright Rags. Steve, what can you tell us about what you do, brother?
I am a apparel designer, also a creative director at Loot Crate. I'm a freelance headwear designer at Fright Rags, and I'm also a podcaster on the Bat Force Radio podcast, which is pretty much Batman centric, but we cover a lot of DC. But I dabble in both worlds, especially in horror nowadays, and I'm very excited to be here. And I just wanted to have a shameless plug. I am wearing the newest Fright Rags t-shirt that I was able to get at Monster Mania. So
very cool.
That's awesome.
I believe you guys can get that on their website at frightrags.com. So if you haven't, that's where we get most of our stuff. So Fright Rags is definitely where it's at. That's how I hooked up with Steve. And then the beautiful, the super talented Kamarra. How are you doing tonight, Kamarra? Can you tell people a little bit about you?
Hey, I'm Kamarra, and I'm a horror movie actress and occasional ghost hunting enthusiast. So that's who I am, and I'm super excited to be here, hanging out with the fam, the horror fam. So it's always good to hang out and chat.
Yeah, we are super excited to have you guys. This is something that we've been looking forward to for a very long time. Yeah, we got Kenley here too.
Yeah.
Kenley, can you say, let's talk horror? Can you tell them?
Hi,
Stevie. So a little bit about this, guys. We just talked about this. We are including the 2015 remake of Poltergeist. And not only are we ranking this franchise, we're going to do a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. Ashley and I did kind of a deep dive into the Poltergeist franchise. So we're going to talk a lot about the curse of Poltergeist and things of that nature. So I do want to say, before we actually get started and everything gets rolling, I do have the links for all these beautiful people down here in the description. So make sure you're checking them out. Yep, right down there, huh, Kenley? Make sure you're following them on social media so you can stay up to date on Ryan's photography, on all the apparel stuff that Steve's doing, and all the amazing jobs that Kamarra is doing out there, because she's just going to be taking the horror world by storm. Every time I get in contact with Kamarra, she's working on a new project. So you're going to be seeing a whole lot more of her here in the future as well. But before we can get started, we got to catch up on the chat a little bit. Hey, Tatum. Yeah, please, everybody, share this. That would be very much appreciated. Can't make it because, hey, that's Shaim. I hope that you can make it on the playback. And if you do, what's up, Shaim? Nice to see you. What's going? Oh, I'm so sorry, buddy. That sucks. I know that's not easy. Hey, what's up, Russell? Nice to see you. Happy Thursday to you as well.
Hey, Russell.
Hey, Ryan. How you doing?
Hey, Ryan.
I love this. Russell loves this. You're so cool, Brewster. Hey, what's up, Ashton? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Ashton.
Oh, we got a donation. I've only seen the first one. Can't wait to see everyone's list. Well, since you guys are all first-timers here on the panel, every time we get a donation, we like to celebrate. So let's celebrate here a little bit.
Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby.
It's those damn enchiladas. Thank you so much for your donation, Charles. Everything that comes into Sledgehammer Horror goes back out into the channel. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate you so much, buddy. You've been here since day one, so it really means a lot. Hey,
Thanks,
what's up,
Charles.
Louie?
Hey, Louie.
Oh, man, you guys are awesome.
Aw.
Hey, what's up, Gavin? Nice to see you, buddy. Thank
Hey,
you for
Gavin.
stopping out.
What's
Hey.
up?
Hey, I'm telling you this right now. If you love this channel, you should check out this panel because these are all amazing people. So make sure you're following them on social media. They are so dope. How many times does a person in Poltergeist 3 say another person's name? Yes, they say the name Carol Ann over 100 times in Poltergeist 3, which is
I was
awesome.
just thinking the other day when I was watching it that would make a fantastic drinking
Drinking
game.
game.
Yeah.
Yep.
It would
If
kill
you
you.
don't-
But
I'll say if you don't want to survive the night,
Yeah.
it would be a great game. Hey, tell your daughter we said happy birthday,
Aw,
Marsh.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
happy birthday.
But don't you ever let your kids come before us again. I'm just gonna say that.
Gotta
For
have
those of you who don't
priorities.
know,
Do you wanna-
Chris is like one of my best friends. Like we've gone to baseball games together, so I can rib him like that. I would never
Nice.
dare say that to somebody I didn't know. Hey, J Dev.
Hey,
J Dev has
J-Dev.
had a very rough
Hey,
week.
J-Dev.
He lost his
Yeah.
grandmother
Very
this
cool.
week, so
Aw.
buddy, we love
hon.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you for even stopping in just for a second, man. You know I love you, and my phone is always on if you ever need me, buddy.
Hugs to you.
Yes. All right, guys. So we are going to start our list, and as always, I like to start with our bottom tier. So coming in at the very bottom for me, it's not they're here, it's not they're back, it's not we're here. It is
They're coming.
the Poltergeist remake. They are coming. So what I want to say about this movie, there are positives to this movie. I don't think that this is like a trash can of a movie. I like that they changed their names. I feel like it was very respectful to not use the name Carol Ann in this movie, to completely recast that character and redo the names. I think that was very, very respectful, very tactful. I like that you get more character development with the family in this one. You learn a lot about the family and who they are and what makes them tick. I feel like the scary tree has a little bit more impact in this one because there's so many different scenes of the tree. The stack of comic books in the hallway was a pretty cool idea, but the CGI looked like shit.
Mhm.
I like that the brother Griffin had a bigger story in this one. He was more of a character in this one than he was in the first one. I feel like the black goo in the garage, when they grabbed the sister in the black goo, I feel like that was a total homage to Poltergeist 3. Like, I feel like that was an homage to the garage scene in Poltergeist 3. And then what was the other one? There was another one that, when the worms are coming out of her face when she's drinking. I'm sorry, when he's drinking and you see it in the sink. I feel like that was a nod to Poltergeist 2 with the worm, the tequila worm. So I like that they had these little nods to the other ones. It wasn't just a hard remake of the first one. In my notes here, about 7 times, way too much CGI. I feel like the clown scene in the remake was hot garbage. I did not like the clown scene.
Not hot garbage.
The original one was. I did like the arm drill in the closet when they grabbed his arm, then you could hear the drill whirling and it was coming in and out of the closet door. I did like that scene a lot. Again, Shadow Maggie. I thought that was a dope idea how her shadow was moving, but I'm going to just show you this. Fucking sucks. Again, damn it. Like, the CGI just looked really bad. I did like the idea of the other side taking the ghost, like the ghost taking them in. I thought that looked good. I like how Griffin is the one that went and got Maddie from the other side. I thought that was another really cool idea of actually sending him in. Like they're all arguing about who's going to go in, and he's like, "Fuck this, I'm just going to go in." And he goes upstairs and he goes in. So I mean, like I said, there's stuff that I like, but on the flip side of that, I did not like the fact that there was no Tangina. I know you brought in the other guy, Burke, but it just wasn't the same to me. Tangina just had this mythical, feeling around her, where Burke was just a TV personality, in my opinion. Like he had his catchphrase and all that stuff. He wasn't that guy to me. I thought the ending was really bad. I thought the ending of this film had no real closure to it. I don't know if they were leaving it open-ended or whatever for the chance of a sequel, but if I'm not seeing a house get sucked into the ground, I'm not interested. And I will say one last thing about the remake that I did enjoy is they have the scene where he's like, I had to put this kid's toy on the ground. And over the course of 7 hours, you could see it move. And then the chair goes flying by his face. And he's like, oh, did you catch that with your camera? Like, I thought that really made me laugh out loud. So the last place for me is the Poltergeist remake 2015. But I do want to go on record as saying I didn't hate it. Like when I rewatched it, the CGI was very much bothering me throughout the film. But overall, I didn't hate the movie. I thought that it had some genuinely great ideas. Like I said, the comic book scene where the comic books are all stacked up, the shadows moving. Like I thought they had some good ideas, but the execution and the CGI on it just didn't work for me. So for me at the bottom is Poltergeist 2015. What about you, my love?
So also mine at the bottom is Poltergeist 2015. So I feel like I remember going and seeing this in the theater, but nothing stuck with me. And it's been 7 years since it came out, and I couldn't remember not a single thing about this movie. So it's not very memorable, but I do remember disliking it, which is weird. So when I rewatched it a couple of days ago, it's not as bad as I remember. There are some good things about it. Like Ken said, they changed their name, so you can't replace Carol Ann. She's unreplaceable in my opinion. I didn't.
Iconic as hell.
Yeah, she's iconic, and I didn't care for like they're back. Or they're coming. No, but then she says they're here, like after she says that, and it just doesn't hit the same.
That's why I didn't even add that in the clips. I have that they're coming. That way I could differentiate between them.
I mean that's different, but she still says that, and it just doesn't hit the same. Poor Griffin, I feel so bad for him. Like he's really squeamish, and they put him in the attic. Like, why put the scaredest kid up in the attic? Also the squirrel jump scene, that's scary. There was two different ones. The squirrel jump scene got me both times. That rabid squirrel that was running around the room.
That may have been the scariest part of the movie.
Yeah.
Scary.
The clown, his like retractable nose thing freaked me out too. But when he goes to choke out Griffin, does not look good at all. Right. So there's some good things. I like the Maddie shadow. I thought that was pretty cool, and she's hiding in the closet. Oh yeah, this guy, like the clown in the first one, that fucking clown scares the shit out of me, and it wasn't the same in the remake. You would think it's 9 o'clock. You would think this kid would go to sleep, but the poltergeist is about to take her.
Yes.
Yeah, but the Maddie shadow, when she's in the closet and her dad's like, Maddie, and she turns around, it's not really her. That scared me too. Like that got me, that jump scare. But so overall, it's okay. Like I said, it's not really that memorable. But it entertained me enough.
Right.
So that's my least favorite.
Worm Clibbins. My boy Thomas, I'm sorry. So how about you, Ryan? What comes in last place for you?
So I completely forgot that there was a remake, so I didn't actually get the chance to watch that one. So for me, by default, I think last place is probably the third one. But I still like the movie though. It is a very entertaining movie in its own right. But I've never really felt like it holds a candle to the other two. It's a very different kind of movie, I think. The spirit of it is there, but you can definitely tell that it wasn't kind of sticking in the same direction as the first two movies. It had its moments though, and it was on all the time, so I saw it constantly.
Right.
But I personally, I definitely would have to put the third one at the bottom.
Okay, and that's fair. So how about you, Steve? What's your last place?
I'm going to jump on with you guys just by default. Definitely the remake, but I do want to kind of extract some positive things. Like you said, they really respected what the first three movies have done, and you can't recreate that magic that happened and the legacy that the characters have put into that universe and the story. So I think they did the right thing by kind of putting it into kind of like modern times. introducing a brand new family that still resembled the previous family. At the end, like the CGI didn't really bother me, but the thing that did bother me was like crucial parts that connected to the first movie. They kind of just connected the dots, and then they kind of kept it moving. Like, oh, there was a cemetery here, but clearly they just removed the tombstones. That's it. Like they took big parts of the series and just rush right through it. And I'm like, I saw it earlier today to kind of brush up, and I'm like, there's no homage or nod to these epic moments in the series. And like, what's the purpose of doing this reboot without keeping it open or connecting dots to these major parts of the series? And a lot of times in movies, you kind of see like a modge podge of maybe 1 and 2 and even 3. But like you said, like they introduced these little homages like the tar and all that other stuff where they fell short. Like if you made that connection with the worms coming out of his mouth and that was the tequila monster, again, another epic scene that was just very watered down to me. But I wasn't offended. Like, I felt like they made the girl look like Heather O'Rourke a bit. It's like it's like a nice, genuine homage to the movie. But I do like how they kind of gave the little brother more of a purpose as opposed to like the mother, because he felt so guilty as being the protector. And I think that's kind of like what Ashley said. Like they put him in that attic to kind of build him up because they said like, hey, you're scared, but you're the guy that steps up at the end. So it was kind of like rewarding to that moment for him. Like you said, very watchable, but I probably will see it in like another 5 years.
And that's my thing. I have no desire to go back and rewatch it.
Right. There's no open-endedness. They could have continued this franchise a few years later and people would have still watched it because it would have been a nice reboot, but it kind of just stopped.
Yeah.
Right. Totally agree with you, obviously, because that's where I had it on my list too.
Right.
So how about you, Kamarra?
Well, like I said earlier, I completely did not realize that the reboot was part of things, so I had to scramble to kind of look at that. But it's definitely in last place for me, and even after watching it not very long ago, like less than a couple hours, like there's nothing that stands out in my mind as being terribly memorable. And actually, for being honest, for me, it felt a lot like what happens a lot in horror, where there's a completely different movie made, and then the name is just slapped on top of that, and they're like, "Oh, this is American Psycho 2," but it really has nothing to do with it. So it kind of gave me that vibe where it was like, this could have been a completely different movie that had nothing to do with Poltergeist and probably would have done better had it not had the Poltergeist name attached to it, because they didn't lean hard enough into a lot of the lore and legacy that people are familiar with. And then it was too, I don't know, it just, I didn't have a good vibe with the family for myself. Like I just wasn't connected to any of them. Like to me, everything started really, really fast. Like it just jumped right into things. And that's the magical part to me. I mean, Poltergeist is one of my favorite movies. And that's one of the best parts of Poltergeist, is that it's a slow burn up until like, I mean, I think it's what, a half hour before really anything starts happening, to build those like relationships and whatnot. And so for this, it just felt like I sat down and they were like, all right, here's all of this stuff happening. It's all happening. It's Poltergeist. And I'm like, what is, just relax. What's happening?
Yeah, like super aggressive from the beginning.
Yeah. Like it was just very aggressive. And they were like, you like Poltergeist, right? This is Poltergeist. I'm like, hey, chill. Like, you need to relax for a second. but there were images that I loved. Like I did like the idea of her being pulled into the closet and then looking back and getting that kind of tunnel vision shot of getting further and further away from her home. I thought that was very interesting. I liked the clown design. I feel like you have to go with a remake. You either have to go hard into it or go in a completely different direction. And I feel like they kind of waffled somewhere like flat in between. They didn't go hard enough into like the lore of what we all remember, and then they didn't. But it was also kind of mundane too. So I don't know. I liked the design. It was fun. Yeah, I don't know. It just, for me, the biggest thing was like it was just very aggressive, and I did not feel a real connection to the family. Like it just felt like everyone was there and fulfilling like plot points.
Right. And it's funny because usually when you have moments like that in a movie, it's like because they're trying to kill people. You just got the people that you're going to kill, but no one dies. So like it's just like you said, they're just there to fill plot. So before we move on to our third, we will catch up on the chat real quick. Louis says Sleepaway Camp is the best drinking game. A shot every time they say Angela. Well, either way, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, either way.
Angela.
Yeah, that one was okay, but not great. That's just my opinion. I completely agree. The remake has its moments for sure, but it's at the bottom for me as well. Poltergeist remake is definitely at the bottom of the list. Ryan's like, I'm glad I didn't watch this shit after hearing everybody's talking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of want to see it, but I was actually going to say earlier, I kind of agree, but I'll let you get to the comments here first before I.
Yeah, you still got to check it out.
Yeah.
We ordered this online, I believe, when we first started Sledgehammer Horror. This is one of the first shirts we ordered for it. The clown in the original gave me nightmares.
Everybody. Everyone
totally
got
did.
nightmares.
I tried to attack Ashley with a clown, but she's just too damn smart for me. Awesome. I'm glad she had a good day, buddy. I'm glad you guys had a good day. Happy birthday to your little girl, and many, many more to come, my friend.
Yes.
Hey, what's up, Cal? Thank you for stopping in, my friend.
Hey, Cal.
Yes, Sam Rockwell is in the Poltergeist remake. So,
and I was so excited. That's why I was like, I love The Rock. Let me get in here and check it out. And I was like, damn, let me down.
Right.
Let me down.
Well, I was just reading, where were we reading that? I sent it to you. I'm trying to see if I still have it in my phone. They're going to continue the Poltergeist franchise. I'm trying to remember who it was that picked it up. Someone picked up the rights to it, and I sent it to Ash with a big son of a bitch.
Is it Blumhouse?
No, it's not Blumhouse.
They seem to be out to get them all.
And
the Russo brothers.
If I'm correct, Sam Raimi was connected to this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, man, like they just did not set this up for success for such a contribution to the film. But
that's probably why Sam Raimi didn't want his name all over it. He watched it and he was like, put me as executive producer.
Yeah, you see it like credits, you're like, oh shit, okay.
But man, also you never know what this film originally looked like.
Studio interference can be a bitch.
Because like being a part of a bunch of stuff myself, like I've seen rough cuts and then I've seen where it finally ends up, and sometimes it's like night and day, and you're like, was I in this? Did I do this movie?
I don't remember all this.
So who knows? There may be a great version of it that we just will never see because it was just cut to shit.
Yeah.
Right.
I think. Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think also this has kind of proven as a blueprint that you can tell another story with another family in another side of the world, and it could be a TV series or a mini series where how does that affect different families? Like, yes, the family was so iconic, and like you said, like we didn't have that strong connection, but if you tell a better narrative of why, what brought them to this house and why is there a supernatural force trying to be heard, then you have this opportunity to really tell a whole array of different stories.
Yeah.
At that same note, I think I was going to say earlier that the point that the Kamarra had made that I think is one of the reasons why number 3 is at the bottom of my list is because it doesn't have the family. The only one that's there is Carol Ann, and I think that's a really big part of what made the first two movies work as well as they did. And I'll go back into more of that later once we get to that part, but I just kind of wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
And this is right here. The same people that do Stranger Things are the ones that own the right to Poltergeist now. So there's hope.
There is. Oh,
Yeah. I'd be interested to see their take on that because I feel like they would go so far in a different direction that it would be very interesting, which is what you have to do with remakes. Like, I don't want to see, so I hate Spider-Man. Like, I don't want to see the same damn story told every couple years. I get it. I understand the Spider-Man story. Like, tell me something different. That's why when I saw Into the Spider-Verse, like, I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'll watch this shit, like, on repeat because it was such a departure and so interesting. And I'm like, that's what you do. Like, when you're telling a story, don't tell me the same story the same way 500 times. Like, take it in a different
Miles
direction.
Morales, baby.
That's why I like.
I totally agree.
The Chucky 2019, like they kind of like take the bones of it, but they make it their own. You know, they put their own.
Yeah,
exactly.
I've been kind of saying the same thing. Like one of my buddies and I got into a kind of a heated argument about remakes at one point, and I told him, you know, like Nightmare on Elm Street, they've tried remaking, and I was like, that movie could be done if they just took it in a completely different direction. If they just really, really reimagined it, they could do something really awesome with it. But they keep trying to rehash or outdo what the original did, or in some cases completely miss the mark by trying to redo something that they did. But
I'd love to see a prequel to see how Freddy became Fred Krueger. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's something I would love to see. So,
yeah, that would definitely be a unique take on the story.
Take it in different directions. That's why Prey was so exciting for me because for years I was like, I don't give a fuck about the Predator being in 2020. Like, I want to see him on the battlefield during the Civil War. Like, I want to see what that looks like. Show me something different. So that's why I think Prey did so well. Like, just take it in a different direction. People are used to seeing what the story is. Like, everyone knows Dracula. I know the lore. Tell me a different story associated with this character.
Well, and it's amazing because even like Robert Englund was like, I would love to see a Freddy TV series where it's like a bunch of different Freddys on the different, you know, like just like how they do with Candyman. Like, you may have heard of this boogeyman, but he doesn't look the same in every place. So seeing like a different type of Freddy in every place, I thought that was a great idea.
He just wanted to bring back Freddy's New Nightmares. That's all.
Oh, for sure.
Which was a great TV show.
That was his end game. So do you want to give your number 3?
Yeah, so my number 3 is Poltergeist 2. So the things I do like about it, I like how it's a direct sequel. You know, it goes right from, you know, from the first one to the same family. The CGI is I believe better than the first one. Not much better, but a little bit better. Reverend Kane is creepy as hell. Like, he scares the shit out of me. And when he's like, you're all gonna die in there, he's so creepy looking.
Back up.
I like Carol Ann and Grandma's relationship. I think that that's a sweet relationship, and I think that she is a good add-on to the story, as well as Taylor. I think with all his wisdom and stuff, he's a good add-on. A lot of the CGI still is crap, though. I like the tequila, when he drinks the tequila, and the worm gets him, and then he turns into that like skeleton worm thing. I thought that looked pretty good, actually. Honestly, I don't have a lot of bad things to say about this movie. It's just I like a couple other ones more than that one. So that's my take on. That's my third least favorite.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah. So well, he's dealing with that. I guess we'll go on. Brian, if you want to give yours,
well, I don't have a third because third was already the number 3.
That's
so
true.
if we want to go over me on this one, that's fine.
Okay, Steve, you can go if you want.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to go with part 3, but Ken and I have spoke about how much I love part 2, but he was telling me how much he loves part 3 because that's the one that he grew up with. And I told
Yeah.
him the other day, and I said, you know what? I have a new profound respect for part 3.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm kind of leaning with Kamarra, it's not as relatable for me because I love the family so much, and it is cool to put Carol Ann in this isolated scenario, and you're kind of seeing, like, no matter what, they're drawn to her because of the pureness that she had. But that movie felt kind of short for me. I was kind of thinking to myself, like, what was the purpose of making it? You had Red Kane. He's a character that I really think is fucking awesome, and he seemed very weak. And obviously, he is weak because he's trying to get like Caroline back, but it just didn't have a lot of purpose for me. What I did like out of it was, I think about the era. I think it's probably 1988. They really leaned into like some really good sound design, and then they also their practical effects were actually like a little cheesy, but they're actually really good. Like there's that scene where like the girls, I think it's Donna, right? She's like ripping through. I think maybe
Tangina, yeah.
I'm like, damn, that is fucking cool. Like,
Yeah.
ripping through, and that's like a manifestation of the vision, and she rips right through, and that's like the porthole kind of. But a lot of great use of these effects that you really don't get to enjoy nowadays because of CGI. And then, I didn't like, obviously I'm so biased to how Reverend Kane looks, but the guy that played, I have it written down, Nathan Davis, he did a good job, but I don't think he really brought the essence of Kane. Kane is really like what Ashley said, he's a shapeshifter. You see in that tequila scene, he's the temptation. So he manifests into all these different parts, just like Freddy Krueger. And that's where this part was really lacking. I think one time it looked like Carol Ann was in her PJs and she had like a Kane mask on or a scary face, which kind of made me laugh because I was like, man, she's wearing like, a silly mask. But overall, still watchable. I like how like I guess he's the uncle. I like his role. I guess what was it, Bruce?
Yeah, Tom Skerritt. Yeah,
really cool protagonist. I felt like he was kind of like the guy that was kind of keeping the movie going. It was relatable. I really liked him. I think my favorite scene is kind of towards the end in the garage where like all the cars come alive. I felt like that was kind of cool. Like that felt dark and cold. And again, after seeing this for so many years, I have a new profound respect for the third. Definitely not horrible, but it's not as good as the other ones that I like, as Ashley said before. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
While I disagree with your ranking, we will talk about that in a little bit. So, how about you, Kamarra? What's your third place?
I'm going to put same. I'm going to put the third into that slot. And to be honest, like story-wise, I like it. I think it does make sense for where they are as a family. Like they've been through so much, and the movies like pretty much take place right after each event. So like the second goes right in, literally from them leaving like the house, going to the mother's or whatever. So it makes sense that they would be so overwhelmed with things that they're like, we love our daughter, but we just need a little break. Can she stay with you for a little bit? So to me, it made sense. It wasn't as far-fetched as it could have been. There's a lot of really fun like practical effects moments. I love a lot of the mirror work. Specifically, I love when I think it's Donna leaves. She's sneaking out to go see her friends, and she's walking down the hallway. Like one hallway on the left is lined, and Kane is on the other side, and there's three of him. And as she passes, like each door closes, and he kind of steps back, and there's just like some really fun imagery. I would agree with Steve that Tom Skerritt's character to me is a stronger character than the sister is. He's got a much like relatable role. Like he should have been the main like focus. Because the sister to me just didn't bring as much to it. She was just kind of there. And then I got a little irritated because you get like towards the end and they've gone through all this like bullshit. And then Tangina's like, oh, by the way, I can take you. You want to go? Hold on, I'll take you. I'm like, oh, why didn't you just take him in the first place? Like, what is going on? We had to go through all
in the
this.
last movie, like you know?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? She's like, oh, I forgot. I can lead the way. I'm like, come on now. I just sat.
There's a good reason for that, and I will get into that here in a little bit.
And then the other thing is the third is hard to watch for me because at that point, like Heather O'Rourke is really sick, like in actual life, and you can see it in her face, and like she's literally on her way out, and it's real. So like for me in that respect, it's very hard to watch that movie. It's even hard to think about like if they knew she was sick and still had her perform, like that's kind of like it touches a nerve for me, but I like 3. There's some great moments. I really love when Donna, I don't remember the boyfriend's name or the guy she's interested, but it's like their otherworldly versions of themselves, and they like meet. It's after she's pushed the psychiatrist into the
Scott.
Into the elevator well, and he like grabs her face and he just like rips her cheek, and there's this just like beautiful moment where she like you see this kind of dead body underneath and then this ripped skin, and I'm like, oh, that's just so wonderful. Like Steve said, like you don't see a lot of this stuff anymore because like people just want to go like they're like, oh, fix it in post, like let's just throw some like CGI on it. But it was like a moment that they took to use to do some really cool effects. And I also think that the actor who obviously played Kane had passed away at that point, so I think that's why they had that different character. But I will agree as well. The story made sense, but there was no need for it. Like there was nothing. Like for me, I'm like, oh yeah, this was great. Like I feel like that this family really went through something, because I'm like, I didn't feel like that at the end. Like Tangina saves them, and then she's like, oh, we got him back, and I got this cool necklace to keep too. That was cool. So I don't know. It's not, I don't hate it. I definitely enjoy parts of it, but I wouldn't watch it if it was on. If I saw it, I'd probably skip past it.
Right. Well, I just want to say all this Poltergeist 3 hate has me over here like
Don't hate it.
I don't hate it. It's just
I gotta say right now, before I give you my number 3, guys, this is a ranking of our favorites and least favorites. Now, saying that, my third least favorite is still a very, very good movie and probably the best in the franchise. So while saying that, my third favorite is The OG is my third favorite of this franchise.
Bold.
Yes, bold. I know. But like, look, Robbie's acting. Look, it's kid acting, so I get it. But while this kid's talking, sometimes I'm like, can we get Gage from Pet Sematary to fill in, please? Or even give me the, give me Alex Vincent from Child's Play. I love that they're here. I love the stacked chair scene. I think that's awesome, and how it's an unbroken shot when they do it. I do like how there is a nice mix of comedy, how Coach is sitting there getting high. I'm going to call him Coach just for this whole thing, just so everybody knows.
That's
I will be calling him Coach. I like when, the sucked in the closet scene. I think it's genuinely sad when they're having their conversation with Carol Ann through the TV, and she's like, "I can hear you, baby. I'm right here." Like that part is just like genuinely heartbreaking. I think it's the slowest moving of the bunch, and me not being a huge slow burn fan, that might be the thing, the reason why. I don't think there's enough Carol Ann in this film. Obviously, she gets kidnapped because she was such a young actress, and they couldn't have her as much screen time back then, as they didn't have all the laws and stuff to protect our young actors and keep them in place. Probably one of the best third acts, though. I love the third act of the OG. I think it's amazing. And I think that there's a scene in this movie where the mom is getting sucked up the wall, once you think everything's over. And I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street almost completely ripped that off with Tina's death. And at first we were rewatching it the other day, and I'm like, man, they totally bit Nightmare on Elm Street. I looked up, I was like, oh shit, this came out before Nightmare on Elm Street. Wow. Yeah, and it looks good. Like that's just like in Nightmare on Elm Street, it looks really good. And I think that Nightmare on Elm Street took an influence from that. And this one has a great usage of practical effects. I wish we could have had some more practical effects in this movie, because they did try their hand with some CGI and some computer generated shit. But here's a couple behind the scenes things that we would like to talk about. When the clown comes and grabs Robbie around his throat, it malfunctioned, and that little boy was really getting choked, and he said that he was scared for his life. He had bruises. Like, it was a very scary scene. You want to talk about that one?
The tragic of Dominique Dunn, how she was killed by her
Murdered by her boyfriend.
and he only got like 2 years in prison for that, for killing another human being. Yeah, it really is, and it's very disturbing.
And then how everybody says that the curse of Poltergeist is because when they have the pool scene, they used real skeletons in that scene.
Yeah.
Do we ever get an actual, like, they were real? Because I feel like they tiptoe around it, but they never say like they were real. I mean, they look real, they look really good, but
they've never said they're not real either.
Right? They didn't say that either. Right. Yeah.
So we've never gotten a conclusive answer on this, but and one of the interviews we were watching said it perfect. And I'll talk more about this when I give another movie. The curse is bullshit, and it's more about human beings than it is spirits. And again, once I get to another film, I'll give more in depth about that. But real quick, we're going to catch up on the chat before Kamarra gives us her second favorite in the franchise.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're flying through. I love this. Hey, what's up, Ashton?
Hey,
nice to see you, buddy.
Hi,
Hello.
Ashton.
We got Poltergeist 2 at number 3, Poltergeist 3 at number 3. If I swear to God, if I see another Poltergeist 3 this low,
Canceled.
I swear
Whoa.
it is
Wow.
on. Okay.
Someone's a little salty.
Yeah, tough room.
Thank you, Charles. Yep, and there
Charles.
it is. Sorry, Ken, but
Sorry,
canceled.
can't be canceled.
This is so killer. Make sure you're subbing to all these people. Yes, make sure you're following them on social media. They are all amazing, wonderful people. Don't have a ranking, haven't seen them all, but the only one was probably worse, which was the remake. Yeah. What's up, everyone? Don't forget to hit that like button to taste of some sweet chin music. I agree. Hit that like button. You say like and subscribe?
Oh, that's cute. Like and subscribe.
She says it all the time. Whenever we say goodbye to people, she's like, all right, guys, bye, like and subscribe.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Kamarra, do you want to give us we skipped Ryan that go around, guys, because obviously he hasn't seen the remake, so we skipped him on that one. Like and subscribe. So that's why Ryan got skipped on that go around. So now we can all be caught back up and all on the same page here. So Kamarra, would you like to give us your number 2?
Yeah, sure. So it is number 2. Poltergeist number 2. I love number 2. As far as like story goes, I think it's so fun because you get a little bit more in depth with the characters. I love that we kind of see this flip-flop in Diane's character, because in the original, in the first one, she's kind of more of the like free spirit. She's got a really open mind about all of the supernatural happenings and whatnot. And their roles are kind of reversed in the second. Like he's like super unkempt and just like going with the flow. He's not working. He's just sitting at home. And like you see her, like she's way more buttoned up and almost a little bit more conservative in the second. And I also like just the normalcy of like regular shit that would happen. Like I love their conversation about like the insurance company not covering their house. And I'm like, it's like a real conversation. Like if my house disappeared, I'm sure the insurance would be like, well, we don't really want to pay out. So I love these like conversations that are like based in reality. And just the family dynamic that happens with the grandmother passing away and trying to kind of get Diane to realize that that whole family's kind of got a little bit of a supernatural spark going on that grandmother has, Diane has, Carol Ann has. And there's so many cool, like, again, practical effects that happen in this, like the worm coming out of his mouth after the tequila drink is just, it's something that's like very much burned into my childhood memory. And just watching it like just bubble up and like fall out is such a like cool image. And even after all of this time, it still holds up as being a very cool image. Whereas a lot of stuff with the CGI, you can't say the same. Like you go back and you're like, oh, this is like tough to watch, but it hits the same every time I watch it. As well as the scene in the bathroom where Robbie's getting wrapped up with the with his braces, and it's just like wrapping. Like all of that is just so good. Yeah, it's one of my favorite sequels because I feel like it holds up. It does a little bit of clip game in the beginning where you're like, oh wait, is this just going to be a whole bunch of flashbacks? But it doesn't lean too hard into that, which is nice. But yeah, number 2, I love that one. I think it's a solid horror sequel that's got like a great story. Taylor's really good in it. Tangina is great. Like everything, like the progression of where it is makes sense to me. Like it's not some like they're on an island and shit's happening. Like it all like lines up. So yeah, number 2 is definitely a lot of fun for me to watch.
And I could not agree with you more. My number 2.
They're back.
It is number 2. I love the grandma in this one. I think that for what small role that she has, I think she's absolutely phenomenal. I think this one's scarier. I think this one has much scarier moments than the OG, in my opinion. The kids have gotten much better at acting. And Reverend Cain is just the thing that monsters are made of. Julian Beck was just a force of nature in this film. I just love, let me in and talk to you. And he's like, you got something bad here, friend. He's like, Taylor. So that's what he calls himself now. Like him planting those seeds of doubt throughout the movie.
Yeah.
I love the dream where the mom's getting pulled under the ground. Like was a genuine scare for me. I love Coach making the toy phone calls. Maybe it's the insurance company. I love that. Again, Taylor's fantastic. You talked about the braces and a very unforgettable scene. I love that we get more of the mom's clairvoyance. And Steve, I know that eventually you'll be talking about this. Okay, baby. When the mom is having her vision and it's flashing back to Reverend Cain down in the catacombs, like that is just a scary scene because you have the juxtaposition of her being so scared and so frightened, but in the flashbacks, Kane looks just so euphoric and full of life. So you have that terrible juxtaposition at that moment. Obviously the tequila worm, and Coach's possession throughout that whole scene when he's trying to get it in as Kane, like, I have needs. I'm like,
You're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Slow down, Reverend Coach.
Gross.
The scene where they save Carol Ann, when you see Grandma as the angel, and they're able to save. Because there's one thing I love about the original 3 Poltergeist movies, especially, is all 3 of them does that thing where you think we're at the end and everything's happy and everything's tied up in this nice little box with a nice little ribbon on top, and then the next thing happens and it's not over yet. Like, there's still more to go. You're like, wow, everything's done, and there's still a half-hour runtime that we're gonna get to see them be happy.
Yeah.
Fine. And you're just like, oh, that's awesome. We get to watch them be happy for a half hour. Oh, well, how stupid of me for thinking that. They already did this in the first one, so they're not going to do it again in 2. This is all wrapped up in a cute. Oh, we got Reverend Coach. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're back to this shit again.
You know what else is funny in that? I just realized is I laughed like out loud about it because it's very quick. But when he's talking about like Taylor's side, and it's the 80s, so there's like no chill and no PC or anything, and he's like. And he's talking about him being like Native American. He's like, look, I love these people. He's like, I love them. I think I'm like a 16th Native American on my mother's side. Nobody will talk about it. He's like,
I'm like 116th Indian, I believe.
Yeah.
He's like, but nobody wants to talk about it.
Even Reverend Kane is like, you got an Indian here with you, friend.
Yeah.
So
I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
That's the
a little bit more. A little bit more behind the scenes of Poltergeist 2 when we're talking about the curse of Poltergeist.
Well, speaking of the Indian, Will Sampson, he was 53 and he died of kidney failure. At 53 years old, he had kidney failure and he died of malnutrition.
Who was Taylor?
Yes, Taylor.
Aww.
And then
that's horrible. That's really young at 53 years old.
Yeah. So, and then Julian Beck, who played Reverend Kane, he died of stomach cancer shortly at. You have to go wash your hands.
I think he was like going through treatment and stuff as they were
he was in when they were filming.
Hold on, baby. All right. You want to give your number 2?
Yeah. So my number 2 is actually the first one, Poltergeist 1. I love this movie. I think Carol Ann is creepy when she talks to the static, but she's so cute at the same time. And she's so cute. I love the parents, their dynamic. Like I kind of relate to them now that I'm a parent. Like their parents, they're in there like rolling a joint and like like hanging out together, and then their kids come in because they're scared, and so then there's 2 kids in between them, and all the fun is over. So I love the parents in it for sure. The CGI, like the stuff floating in the room, it doesn't look great, but I mean it was made before CGI was as good as it is now. The Tangina, I love her and her voice and all that she brings. I think she's amazing. And the clown scared the absolute crap out of me as a kid. Like that, that's what nightmares are made of, is that clown thing. So when we have this little clown thing here, and I'm like, get that out of my house. It freaks me out. I'm like, if that thing moves, like I'm leaving.
I don't blame you.
No, I'm out of here. I like the humor too, like when Dad is arguing with the neighbor over the remote because for whatever reason they're on the same, like their clicker can be the same as theirs, so they're like they keep changing the channel and they're trying to watch the football game. Like I like the humor in that. So there's not a lot I can say that's bad about this movie. It's super entertaining. It's iconic. You get they're here, and I love that, and all the continuations within the other ones, that we get. So another thing I thought was kind of creepy is the teenage daughter when she's like going out on her bike and the workers that are making the pool are like trying to hit on her and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And the mom's just looking out the window and she's like, oh, like no big
That's
deal.
the
These are-
80s.
Yeah.
yeah. These are adult men like hitting on your daughter, like giving them kissy faces, and she just like, gives them and she's like, oh, ha ha ha. Like, come on, that's creepy. She's a teenager, right? But yeah, overall, I love this movie. So,
It's very uncomfortable to watch a teenager get catcalled.
for sure.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
I
Like,
mean,
that's super uncomfortable.
I guess it was more normal back then, but still.
Still
it's-
not okay.
Yeah.
And it's also like, that one part where the guy leans in and tastes the sauce. And
Yeah.
Yeah, like, why
It's like
are
just leans into their house.
that just happens in real life, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, just like the guy's like, I'm gonna go grab
It's like a
something to
daily
eat. He grabs a
occurrence, you know?
fucking steak.
Yeah.
He grabs the most expensive
grabs
thing
a
in their
steak.
fucking fridge.
Well-
I'm just gonna grab something to eat real quick.
Well,
and it's a
that's-
fucking steak.
Yeah, that's pretty ballsy to take my steak.
No, but you can think about it. He takes the steak to cook and a chicken leg.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna eat the chicken leg as a warm up while the steak
Yeah,
is
like-
cooking.
That's
Gross.
not a snack,
Don't stick
man.
your
That's a
hand in
meal.
things.
That's a freaking meal.
And he just
Yeah.
lays a raw steak on the plain counter too.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Right.
set it on a plate or anything, just sets it on the counter.
That's amazing.
Like,
Oh,
the-
the
these
steak was
guys
walking
better-
its way over to the oven, obviously. So
Yeah.
So, how about you, Ryan? What is your number 2?
So I originally was fully prepared to come into this with number 1 being my number 2. However, since I literally just finished watching number 1 about a half an hour before we started, and I watched 2 and 3 yesterday, and I've come to the conclusion that number 2 definitely has to be number 2 for me. But it comes so very, very close to being number 1. I think they're more or less tied because I think a big part of that, what I really love about the second one is how it kind of reaffirms how perfect that casting was for that family. They have such amazing chemistry between Coach and the mom. They're amazing together. They're amazing with the kids. That whole family dynamic, the way it carries over from the first movie, in many ways, kind of makes it feel like the first and second movie really are just one big movie.
Yeah.
The way it all just kind of rolls together. But I think the reason why the second one gets the number 2 treatment for the most part is because there are a few subtle things from the first movie that are really kind of missing from the characterizations. Like I noticed it had been pointed out that the mom and the dad kind of swapped around the roles, and I kind of wish they would have stayed on track with where they were going with the characters, because they were kind of similar in the first movie, and I think that's part of what made them work together in that chemistry. And so when they started kind of going in different directions with the characters, it didn't really work very well with me. And like even Tangina seems like she's just a little subtly different from what she was in that first movie. And I liked what she did with what they did with the characters in the first movie. And so I think that's easily why number 2 goes into number 2 for me. But otherwise, I mean, everything about it really is iconic. And the thing that really got to me about rewatching them, it had been years since I'd seen them. And so my memory had them kind of melding together. I had forgot that the worm was in the second one. I thought that was in the first movie all these years, like years later. So and I actually watched the second and third movie first because I was fully prepared to put number 1 and number 2. So it was really weird seeing that worm pop up. I was like, oh yeah, that is in the second movie. And like all these little things started coming back to me from my childhood, and how the second one really scared the crap out of me because of that scene. Like that really was... Like for me, that was the nightmare fuel. The clown was scary, but that worm was scarier. That really freaked me out a lot. But yeah, definitely number 2 at number 2.
Awesome.
Nice.
So before we get into our number 1, we do got to take a quick commercial break here, guys, and we will be right back in 40 seconds.
Ghost stories are
They're always scarier.
They're told by the very people who experience them. Hi, I'm Becky.
And I'm Diana.
And we're the hosts of the Homespun Haints podcast.
We talk to people just like you who have come face to face with ghosts, demons, haints, and other strange paranormal phenomena. All of it makes for a chilling good time.
So grab yourself a sweet tea, turn off the lights, and listen to some eerie, true ghost stories on Homespun Haints, wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm not scared. Are you?
So make sure you're checking out our friends over at Homespun Haints. So before I get into it, I do want to go through this a little bit. For me, my last place in this situation,
They're coming.
we had They're Coming, the remake. Second to last place, obviously, we had where did you go? I lost it. Oh,
They're here.
She's so cute.
They're Here. So we had They're Coming. We had They're
Sounds
Here.
Thank you.
Bless you. Then we had
They're back.
Bye.
They're Back. And now my favorite Poltergeist film.
We're back.
Poltergeist 3. We're back. Now I said earlier that I wanted to go into a little bit about why the curse is bullshit. You had Dominique Dunn in the first film strangled by her boyfriend. Carol Ann Heather O'Rourke died because of a medical misdiagnosis. They were treating her for Crohn's disease. She did not have Crohn's disease. She had a blockage, and it was collecting fecal matter and all this different stuff in her intestines, and then it ballooned up and exploded, and it killed a young lady at 12 years old.
Yeah.
So to put that,
And that's why she was so puffy and everything else. She was on steroids,
Yep.
and her face most of the time looks so like her cheeks were big, and
that's why she looks all chipmunk. She was on
she was on
medication
a lot of steroids
for Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate. You had a young lady that was killed brutally by a scorned boyfriend, and another very young lady whose life was taken because of a medical misdiagnosis. To put that on a curse is an insult to their memory. And I agree with that statement. I think that it is a complete and total insult to the memory of these two young ladies to say that it was some curse of some movie that took their lives, when really it was a medical misdiagnosis and a fucking psychopath.
Mhm.
Is the
Yeah.
reason. It's their fault. It's not a movie's fault. And another thing that I think is so scary, on Julian Beck's deathbed, they did a death mask of his face, and the guy that played Reverend Cain in part 3 wore that mask.
But just think about it, like you're
You're wearing a dead guy's face.
Well, yeah, but like you being the one that that you're gonna be, you're gonna leave this world soon, and to continue on this movie, like you take a mold of my face, on my deathbed, like that's crazy to
That's
me.
baller.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you. That's like the most baller shit I've ever heard. Like, I'm still gonna be in this movie, so just take my face
Right.
and go ahead. Like, that's dope as hell.
Yeah, they also credited him at the end, and that's how much respect that they had for him. He did such a phenomenal job, and they knew that they couldn't fill those shoes. But I waited to the end because I wanted to see how they gave homage to Heather O'Rourke, and obviously we probably all feel it wasn't justified how they honored her. Definitely should have been in the beginning in a really tasteful way, but I also noticed that they did give the nod to Julian as well, because his performance is so over the top, and I don't think anyone can match that.
And that was something I wanted to talk about real quick before I get into my favorite scenes of Poltergeist 3 and why this is my favorite. You were talking earlier about how Tangina just comes in and is like, "I got you, bro. We can do this. Hold my hand. We got this." They had to rewrite the ending because of Heather's passing.
Right.
And they didn't want to. Like the directors, the producers, they had this big meeting, the writers. Yeah, they wanted to shut the movie down.
Be done, but they were like, "Oh, there's too much money."
Yeah, the studio was like, "We've put too much money into this.
We're doing this.
You're gonna finish this movie."
Which is, I mean, it's money. Like a girl just lost her life, and
but the directors, the writers, the producers, none of them wanted to do it. So they're like, "You know what? Fuck it. Have Tangina lead him into the light. Give us a body double." If you notice, when they come back and they're holding, it's just a body double. You never see Heather's face there at the end. He said, the director said that was the worst day of any set he's ever been on, to see a young lady dressed up like Carol Ann, like Heather O'Rourke, not being her. And they didn't want to. And he's like, if I could go back, I would have honored Heather more. I would have given this movie a great ending, and I would have given her a send off that she deserved. But at the time, they were all just so hurt and so devastated by the
Yeah.
loss of this young lady that they didn't even want to finish the
Yeah.
film. They wanted to shelve it.
They just
And-
wanted it to be done. Like, just throw this on it and
Yep.
we're done
Yeah.
with it, you know.
And he's like, if I could go back, we would have honored Heather.
now, if
Hindsight.
maybe even if they would have given them some time to grieve and then
Yeah.
you know go on and finish the film, maybe they could have had a better ending and people would have liked it better and it would have been perceived better. But
Yeah.
And the suits, you know, they were like, I don't give a shit about this little girl. You're finishing the movie because we've already paid for all this shit. The budget's already been done. You're going to finish the film. And God damn it, is that hard to hear? You know, it's a little, it's not even like, look, it's bad enough when it's an adult. It's a 12-year-old girl, a girl that has not lived any part of her life yet. You haven't done shit at 12 years old.
Yeah.
And to be taken away because of a medical misdiagnosis and for the studio to go, you need to finish this.
Right.
We've already put money into it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Heartless and cold.
It's really amazing where, you know, and you just said it, like at the age of 12, he's wrapping up a third movie and it's that series. Like that's one hell of a milestone. And it's very commendable. And without her, the whole movie is really perceived in a whole different light.
Yeah.
You know, I'll talk about it more when it's my turn, but she carried the movie from the start, and she started from the first scene of the first movie. It just boom. It just started, and she just set the tone down to the last movie. She still, you know, her performance in the third is still really solid, and it's still heart and purpose. You know, it's really about she took that character and she really just finished it in the way that it should have been.
And
you know, she gave purpose and light to the name.
Yeah. You were talking earlier about her having the prosthetics on, you know, the cane prosthetics. And like I said, Ashley and I were watching these behind the scenes stuff. And, you know, they were talking about how that was one of her most fun days on set. Like her being able to play the bad guy in that role. Like she ate it up. She owned it. And like she came to the director on like their first week of filming. It was like, hey, I like the way you work. I'm going to be a director someday. And like she was just telling him that and how she's going to follow him and shadow him. And like you're hearing these stories. And like even when you watch Poltergeist 2, I meant to say this. When you watch Poltergeist 2, my heart literally shattered when she's talking to grandma at the table. And she's like, I don't think I want to grow up. You know, you hear that scene. And it hurts so bad.
Because
and
she never got the chance to.
Because she never got that chance to learn how amazing being, you know. And there's something they say at the end of part 3 too about Carol Ann, and it's just like it hurts so bad. You know that they're honoring Heather in that moment. But I've talked about why justifiably they had to do what they did. But let me tell you a little bit about what I genuinely like about this film too. Now, what we talked about earlier is you guys talked about it because I just got to say this real quick because everybody had Poltergeist 3 so low. You guys have already talked about this.
I mean, there's only 4 movies. They have to go somewhere, right?
But the uncle, what I love about his dynamic and what they do with this movie is that's not her biological uncle. I mean, like that's her step uncle. You know, her aunt is her blood relative. And he's still the one that's like she's the one that's like, I don't want her here. And he's like the one that's like, listen, I don't mind having a house full of beautiful women. I don't mind this.
Yeah,
and it's usually the opposite. It's usually the blood relative that's like, we need them here. And the the evil step uncle, the evil step mom, we don't need them here. And I love how they took that and they flipped it on its head. And how the uncle's the one that's like, I'll do anything for her. She's my family. You know, and he's doing everything he possibly can to make sure she's safe and taken care of and happy all the time. Heather O'Rourke's best performance goes without saying. She got to chew up a lot of scenery in this one, and she did an amazing job. I love the change of scenery going into the high rise. I thought there was a lot of great moments in the high rise. And obviously, the original ending was going to be so much different, but they couldn't shoot that. You talked about it earlier, Kamarra. I love the usage of mirrors. Like when Carol Ann pops in and she's like, hey, don't forget your eyeliner, blah, blah, blah. You look great. And then she turns and Carol Ann pops in and, hey, you look great. Like, I loved that.
Yeah.
You know, the wear back, I thought that was great. More Tangina, obviously, was super amazing. And now there's another shot in this film. Now, me as somebody that loves to create film and loves to do that type, there's a shot where it's outside and it's an unbroken shot from outside of the skyrise, and it's following the uncle into the room, and it's about a 45-second unbroken shot. And as he's doing it, he's having conversation with Carol Ann, then Donna, then he goes in, and the wife is standing in the mirror, and he comes right up behind her, and they start having their conversation. And watching this unbroken shot from outside the skyscraper point of view, and he's going from room to room, I thought it was amazing. Anytime you could do an unbroken shot. By the way, if you haven't seen Pearl yet, there's a monologue in that film that's a completely unbroken shot. Holy shit, one of the best sequences of the year. Anytime you can do an unbroken shot, to me, you've won. Halloween 2018 did a great one. The Haunting of Hill House had a 13-minute one, which was stupid good. I think this one's genuinely the scariest of the three. When it comes to jump scares, when it comes to rocking me to my core, I think this is the scariest one. I will give you this. The teens suck. The teens in this movie are garbage, and every time they're on the screen, I'm like, shut up, stop talking, go away, please. I know nobody dies in these films, but please kill them. The water puddle in the garage, and it's amazing. If you go back and you watch this, when Carol Ann's getting sucked down, I didn't realize this till we paused it, but you could see the platform that she's on, and this is not special effects. Heather O'Rourke is standing on a elevator type platform that lowers her into the puddle. And I think that's great. They used real practical effects with Heather O'Rourke. And obviously when they're doing a lot of the splash, you could see that Donna's holding her close and they're using a stunt double at that moment. But to watch her go down on this elevator type platform is so amazing to me. Yeah, you could see it because back in 1988, they weren't expecting 4K releases where people could, really see what you're doing.
Yeah.
To see that, in real time is an amazing thing for me. I love when Scott comes through the ice. He's like, "Where do you come from?" Through the ice, and it's just a pool. Yeah. Carol Ann got to you too, didn't she?
He's like the worst.
He is the worst.
He's like the worst character. I'm like, ugh.
I know.
And actually, it's funny that you should mention that because I think he is the only character who officially dies in any of those movies.
Yes, I was just gonna say he's the only one that actually gets killed that you see is dead, not taken to another dimension.
Other than the grandma, but I think she died of natural causes.
She was natural.
They pushed him down the elevator shaft.
The elevator shaft. Yeah,
couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Right.
I like when they're towards the end and the animals are coming to life in the freezer. I thought that was cool. The parking garage scene where where he's looking at her through the window, scary as hell. And I want to talk about the scene that scared me the most as a kid. And this is the first jump scare I remember that as a child made me scared. Because as a child, again, I think this movie's over. I think we've gotten to the end. I think we've saved everybody. And the aunt and the uncle get in the elevator. And she's like, "We're shipping that brat back to my sisters. It's all her fault." And the uncle's like, "It is not her fault." And then Kane jumps in from the background. "Yes, it is." And I remember as a kid, I was like, "Ah, yes, it is." Ah! You're like, that rocked me. The minute I saw Reverend Kane jump out of that elevator, I was like, so that to me was a very effective jump scare. Just like the "we're back," I thought that was very effective. Her getting sucked down wasn't too much of a jump scare, but it was a genuine scare that got me. And there's just a lot of in this movie. Him in the wind through the car window pointing was a scary scene to me as a kid. Donna coming through Tangina was another one.
That's a good one.
Or when you get tricked, when Carol Ann's out the door and the aunt's trying to pull her in, Pat, and then Tangina, "That's not Carol Ann." Damn you. I was like, "Oh, she's right." And Tangina, the way that she just talks to her, she's like, "How'd you know that wasn't Carol Ann?" "The thing that surprises me, sweetie, is that you did."
I love her.
I'm like, "Damn, okay, Tangina, throw that shade."
Right.
She was like, "The thing that surprises me is you didn't." So in this case,
eat shit and die, Ricky. Eat shit and live, Bill.
Still dropped the sleepaway camp in here. Y'all thought I couldn't do it, and I still did it.
Shit and live.
But to me, it's just this movie is so special to me. And Dice just said something in the comments too. It's nice to see you, Dice. Thank you for stopping out. How Heather died hits a bit different for me. The cause of her death was very similar to a condition what I found out. I'm so sorry.
I am glad
that they at least you weren't misdiagnosed. And we always think about it as this young girl died, and it's just like those suits said with this movie, people shit on this movie because of the ending, and I'm like, guys, they had no choice.
Right.
You know, they couldn't bring the girl back from the dead.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way if they would have killed her in the movie, everybody would have burned down houses at that point. You know, this little girl died in real life. They literally did the only thing at that time that they could have possibly done. You know, let's get a body double. Let's just end it on some dumbass note, Tangina, which is even funnier because if you remember in the first one, Tangina's like, well, I've never been there. She's like, well, if you've never been there, well, then I'm the one that's got to do it. So it's like, wait, if she's never been there, how can you lead her to the...
She's been practicing in the off season.
Yeah.
Consistency. Oh, she's been hitting the batting cage.
Yeah, she's like, I got it.
But I mean, like, obviously there's plot points and plot holes there at the very end, but what could you do? And one last thing I want to say about this movie, because it was probably my favorite scene as a young warthog.
As a young warthog.
Yeah, when they're in the thing, when they're in the other dimension, after he realizes sometimes outside is in, what Tangina was trying to say.
Yeah.
And Pat cuts off Reverend Kane's head with the shovel. And he's screaming and it's melting away with those amazing claymation practical effects. Another scene that as a kid, I was like, see ya. I'm done. This is scary. I'm not doing this. But yeah,
movie's rated
so
PG too, by the way.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that was my last note. None of these movies have an R rating.
And actually, the third one has the lowest rating, PG. I think the first two were PG-13. But...
Because
the first one's PG.
Oh, is it PG?
Yeah.
Yes, the first one is PG because the PG-13 rating wasn't out yet.
That's right. Oh, that's right.
And I think they took a lot of part 3. And you gotta remember, part 3 got cut to shit after Heather died too. They took out some of her scenes that they felt were in bad taste and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, part 3, like you were talking about earlier, it's kind of got the Scream 3 treatment where a tragedy happened, so they had to do rewrites and things like that. And I love the fact that if you guys haven't seen it, on Shudder, they have a show called Cursed Films where they talk about cursed films and cursed franchises. And I can't recommend the Poltergeist episode enough because that's especially where he's talking about. Bless you. He's talking about how he wishes they would have done more. He's like, if you watch the movie, we put a fucking title card for Heather at the end. Right. That's what we did. A title card with her name on it.
Not doing as much as
but that makes sense though too, because it's like they have such a short amount of time to shoot things and make these decisions to do stuff. So I'm sure they were like in the moment. Want to. Yeah.
Right. I think in that moment it wasn't as much about not honoring Heather as it was saying fuck you to the studio. You're gonna make us do this. We're just gonna throw this fucking ending on it, and to make it even worse, we're gonna end it on a cliffhanger. So fuck you. You know, with Reverend Kane laughing at the end.
Yeah.
But it's just, to me, it's so heartbreaking to think about this young lady who could have been a fireball in Hollywood. Like she was, oh my gosh. And she was a beautiful young lady. She was smart. She wanted to be a director. At 12 years old, she's sitting with the director saying, I love the way that you work with us, and I'm going to be a director someday. So I'm going to give you my pointers. You know what I mean?
He
like
talks about how he had such a soft spot for her, and how he's
like, I couldn't return to set. Yeah, he's like, I couldn't return to set for weeks after Heather's passing.
So
of course.
You know, he's like, because you were talking about how if they made her work while she was sick, they didn't. They thought that she was getting the treatment she needed for Crohn's disease. That's why she continued to film on set, not knowing. They got a phone call one morning. Hey, we're going to have a conference call this afternoon. And that conference call was Heather's reps telling them she had passed away. None of them knew that it was like that. They thought she was getting treated for Crohn's disease and everything was going to be okay. And then they get the phone call. She didn't wake up. She passed away. And it's just like, that's not fair. Like, that is just, it is not fair to think about. I mean, I'm 36 and I still feel like I'm not ready. You know, like I'm not old enough. There's still shit I want to do. 12?
Yeah.
That's a third of my age. That's true. You know, I've lived her life 3 times, and that's so unfair to think about. 12, you haven't done any. I mean, like you said, Steve, her
resume.
Her resume. That word, that French word I was looking for. That it's amazing. You know, she's in 3, and this franchise, whether people have seen 2 or 3, because I know a lot of people have only seen the first one. This franchise, just by the first one alone, is iconic. People know Poltergeist. And people that haven't even seen Poltergeist know they're here.
Yeah.
You know, like that's something it's... Ew. You're grounded.
She's back. That's what I'm
kidding. But it's just, And you know, you look at this beautiful young lady, and her acting ability in the third one was getting so sharpened. You know, like when she's giving her speech to the teacher, and
yeah, if you look from, you know, the first film to the third film, how much she has, you know, gotten
in just
better.
that short amount of time, the improvements that she made. And it's just it's an unfortunate thing. And I think the third movie will forever be mired in controversy because of the passing of Heather and the way that they had to, you know, throw an ending on it. So I'm going to shut the hell up now because I've been talking for like 20 minutes. But you want to give us your favorite of the franchise?
Yeah, so mine is also Poltergeist 3. You pretty much.
I just want to say that we never know each other's lists. We have separate lists, and we don't know each other's lists. So I think it's great that you have the first one or the third one because you were going to sleep on the couch if you didn't.
Oh, I doubt that that's the way that would have went. But yeah, the third one's my favorite. That's because I watched that one the most as a kid. That's the one that I seen most out of all of them. And you like talked pretty much about every single scene possible. But I do love the mirrors. One of my favorites is when she's in like the psychologist room and he's looking in the mirror and then he looks back and he sees that hand on the coffee mug and then it, you know, it gets thrown and it shatters the glass and then he blames it on Carol Ann, like she's manipulating him.
Yeah, mass hypnosis.
Yeah,
like her coffee cup smashed that mirror, and it didn't do anything to the coffee cup.
Right, and she still has it, and it, you know, it's a coffee cup still. But, like Ken said, the teenagers, some of their dialogue is like, this is totally not radical. Like, yeah, it definitely goes with the time, but their dialogue is crazy. I also like Kamarra, you were talking about how she's walking and you see him in the mirror and then it closes. I love that shot too. I think that looks really good. What else? Tangina, she's in that. I love Tangina in all of them. She's amazing. So yeah, the third one is my favorite. So
yeah,
and I know that not everybody perceives it, but that's okay. Are you coming back?
He's out.
Okay.
Good night.
All right, Ryan, you want to give us your favorite?
Well, clearly the only one left is number one. So, I mean, that's
Right.
obviously my number one. And I think I've already kind of touched on a lot of the reasons why. I mean, I really think that the chemistry of the family and everything just works. And that first movie, obviously, very, very obviously has Steven Spielberg's hands all over it. Sometimes in ways that are really, really good, but also in ways that are really, really bad, like the constant references to his buddy George Lucas. Robbie's room is caked with Star Wars stuff, and it's something that jumped out at me completely this last viewing. I was like, oh my god, there's Darth Vader, there's posters, it's all over the place. And for a while there, it kind of took me out of the movie, but I got past it. But yeah, I think part of the reason why number one works for me is because of that Spielberg influence. You can really tell there's a little bit of an E.T. vibe to that movie, and I don't mind the slow burn. I actually like slow burn movies. I like all sorts of movies, but slow burn horror actually works for me because I think it's a little creepier and it gets under your skin after a while. And there's little subtle things that I missed as a kid, and I think that's why last minute it ended up going to number one, because after I just watched it, I was like, oh, there's some jokes in there that I didn't pick up on, like the one, Ken, that you pointed out earlier, where the mom and Tangina are about to go into the light and they're tying the rope off, and like there's a little bit of humor in that scene that I never got as a kid. And she's like, you've never done this before, and she's like, well, you've never done it before either. And Tangina's face instantly changes. He goes, you're right, you go. And hands her the rope, and I was like, I get that now. But then also at the end when she says that classic line, you know, this house is clean, I didn't like notice that, you know, Ryan has got the camera pointed at her and she's doing this like to her hair, and then she says the line, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But it's little things like that about her character that I think are missing from the other movies. Like there's a side of Tangina who's kind of like, you almost get the feeling that maybe she's kind of in this for the fame. And that's one of the reasons why she hasn't done it before.
A little flagger.
Yeah. And like, but in the other movies, they just kind of take her to that level where, you know, no, she's just a straight up serious psychic and spiritualist, and they kind of forget about that characterization that they established in the first movie. And I think that's where the sequels start to kind of fall apart for me, is when those little tiny details that the first movie did so well fall apart or just go away altogether. And in the first movie, like some of those scenes, like you said, the bedroom scene when she's like crawling on the ceiling, like everything from like getting sucked inside the closet, like that's just a crazy thing to watch. Even now, all the toys and the beds and everything getting sucked into the closet. And I mean, it's scary. And plus for me, that movie, much like my first horror movie, I watched when I was really, really young. And so it really messed with me to watch it as a child. It's just a scary, scary thing to watch. And I think part of that has to do with the kids itself being in the movie and being such prominent characters in the movie. You, as a kid, you really latch onto that, and it makes it scarier. So for me, yeah, that first movie is terrifying. Yeah.
I'm being genuine right now. My daughter's upstairs.
I'm so scared right
Do you guys see that sheet moving? That's not my daughter. I swear to God.
Amazing.
And it's not Bob the Ghost.
That's amazing.
Oh my
the
God.
cat.
That's my cat. Oh my God. The whole time I was like, what the hell is this? What is going on?
It caught my eye, and I'm like, what's going on right now? Like, the poltergeists are coming.
I was over here like, find Caroline. She'll lead you to the light. No, it's just one thing that we didn't talk about with Poltergeist. I had it in my notes. I totally based on the OG Poltergeist. When the same thing, they did it in the remake, but I like it better in the first one when they're like, it took me 7 hours to catch it with my motion camera. You couldn't catch it with the naked eye. And he's like, you're not going to need it for this.
And he opens and all this stuff's flying around that horrible.
And then it cuts to the old lady and she's like trying to drink her tea. She's just like shaking to the core. I fucking dig that, man. That was so dope. So
yeah. I think that's one of the other cool things about the first movie and why I love it so much more than the other ones too, is because it really kind of has a tiny hint more realism to it, I think. And it's a little bit more grounded, and I think that really helps.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I do gotta say real quick. We got, it's either the cat or a demon. It's got to be one or the other.
I'm glad it was the cat.
Demon cat. Cat demon.
Cat demon.
Why not both?
Something that I forgot to say about Poltergeist 3 is Aunt Pat. Okay, I think she's horrible. But she's played by Nancy Allen, who was the bully in Carrie. So it's like...
She was also in RoboCop.
She was the partner in RoboCop.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Your move, Creep.
She looks so familiar. I was like, God damn.
Yeah, Carrie and RoboCop. Robin is here.
Hey, Robin.
The Poltergeist 2015. I did enjoy it. Number 3 was 2. Number 2 is 3, and number 1 is Poltergeist.
Nice.
We have someone else that does not have Poltergeist 3 as their favorite.
I'm actually surprised that we agree on that.
I am too.
Like we don't agree on anything.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like when we're never ever watch a movie for fun anymore.
No,
like, every time we're watching a movie, we're doing timestamps, we're taking notes and shit. But when we watch these Poltergeist movies, we were like, you know what? We don't have to get movie clips. We don't, you know what I mean? Like we can make tiny notes here and there, and we actually watched the first 3 in one day. We had just a little marathon together.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun, like just a genuine good time hanging out with my wife, watching movies. No kids were here.
We did have the little one, but
but you know, she's running around
she's
talking about someone being here or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just amazing to spend a day with my wife watching these movies and to be able to talk about it with 3 people that I consider good friends. This has been a really, really great time for me.
For sure.
So what about you, Steve? Which one is your favorite?
Steve.
So I didn't talk about my number 2, but it's only because you knew that I was gonna go straight to number 2 as my number 1. So in a nutshell, real quick, Poltergeist 1, what I really loved about it was the beginning where they kind of like romanticized about what was going on in the house. It felt fun, you know. They had Carol Ann, kind of back to what like we were saying before, like there's a humor to it. They're like, hey, check this out. We're gonna put her shoulder pads on her, and she's gonna go, you know, drag through the floor, and she's like, it burns, you know, like it's like these they're like wacky parents. And there's also this one scene where like they run to the pool, and then the mom is like, "Wait a minute, we forgot Caroline. She must be upstairs." Like clearly, there's all four, four of them, and she's missing, and all of a sudden she just forgets. But yeah, you know, I also want to say that with Poltergeist, I actually did like the special effects, and to me, for some reason, they didn't read off as cheesy as part two. Like the one scene where the ghost is coming down the stairs, it's a really beautiful scene, and it's very majestic looking, and it puts you in this trance where like you're like, wow, like these ghosts are beautiful energy that's kind of their presence until things really go bad. And then you clearly see that with the demon at the end, but there's some really good subtle effects, and like Ken said before, like the tree is the outside of the clown, the tree is that really that moment that really steals the moment where I think the tree's the catalyst where like shit starts to really go down.
Yeah.
They're kind of fucked. Like it rips through the window, you know. But yeah, I mean, it was really tough because, and I think it's true with everyone. Like the first exposure to the series is the one that we love and that we cling to, and it gives us that sense of familiarity and security, just like you guys with part 3 and with me with part 2, because like I watched it over and over, so I can never say that maybe part 1 was the best because I feel like I would be betraying myself for the past, all these years. But part 1 is near perfect to me. It's really fun. It's really watchable, and watching it again, knowing that who this mysterious force is when you start seeing in part 2, I think enriches part 1 even more because you start filling in the blanks. Like, hey, that's Kane or that force. So it's really a masterpiece. It's really fun. It's a relationship, and I didn't really notice that until you guys said it, that the parents do kind of switch roles. It makes the storyline interesting, where the dad was kind of like the adult and the mom was smoking bed, and I was like, man, that's so wacky and funny. I love it. While the dad switches roles, but like our first episode with me and Ken with part 2. Part 2 will always be my favorite, and it's I think it's mainly because of Kane. Kane steals the show. Heather O'Rourke was amazing, and I think her best performance is part 3 because she's very seasoned. But the beauty of part 1 and all these other series, like she starts from the get-go, like boom, she goes down the steps. She kind of embraces the TV, and that sets the tone for the series. But in part 2, what makes Kane is so interesting is his shape-shifting abilities and the fact that he's tempting everyone through their fear and their greed. And, that's what resonates and gives him strength. And that's the same reason, like I said before, why we love Nightmare on Elm Street, because it's just so creative. Like there's not much to him, but he's just so spooky. And I didn't even notice that he was sick, like when you said that, but man, that makes him so realistic. And the fact he's lifeless, that's what makes him such a character. To me, part 2, CGI didn't work for me at the end. I felt like it was really cheesy, but that's what it was, and very anticlimactic. They start coming together. All of a sudden, the grandma shows up, and like they defeat Kane, and then it's over. But so that second one is very special because there's so many moving parts and so many characters that contribute that are all equally significant. Like Taylor is very important because he kind of inspires the dad to be to overcome his demons and to become bigger. And mom is kind of you start learning more about the clairvoyancy. I messed it up last show. I'm going to do it again. That there's a family gift, and that's the lineage, and that's the beauty of part 2. That it's a they're passing the torch. The grandma passes away, and now now the mom is embracing this family curse and trying to get through it. And now Caroline has something as well. So part 2, hands down, not perfect, but so many great parts to it. And and it's funny too, even at the end where like Taylor steals the family car, you know.
Yes.
Happy. It's happy.
Yeah.
He's like, how are we supposed to get home? I'm like, Taylor.
That's the beauty of the movies, you know. It's like it's very it's fun, and it's, you know, it's not made in any intent but just to entertain people and to make people laugh. I think that's what the 80s will always bring to the table, because
absolutely,
it's all about fun. It's not, there's no agenda or purpose or a hidden truth. It's like, hey, let's just make this movie and just scare people. Fun. And and hands down, like everyone said multiple times, like the tequila scene is just super cool. Manifestation of Cain through, you know, the second you see that worm coming down, but when he actually comes out and starts crawling, like what a great scene.
His little nubbies at the back.
You got these,
turns around and gives the camera that little smile.
Yeah. Wiggling out.
So cool.
And I think if they would have never remade it, I think the original trilogy is, if you're talking about films that have just a trilogy of films that don't go any farther than a trilogy, you're going to be hard pressed to find a better trilogy than the OG.
Story-wise, it's very solid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's rare to see like a main character like Carol Ann being played by, you know, the same actor. Like at some point in time, they would have replaced it with a different character or a different actress, you know, in any other franchise, or killed them off earlier on so they could replace them for a different sequel. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I just think that there's so much about this original trilogy that is just so fun and so good and scary. And you got Toby Hooper and Steven Spielberg working together on the first film. Like I said, I have the third film, or the first film, is my third favorite. That's still better than a whole lot of other franchises altogether.
Yeah, for sure.
I will say that I think the first Poltergeist is probably the best in the franchise, but it's just my least favorite just because of what the other two meant to me and how much they scared me as a kid. Cain,
I think from
my world as a kid.
Cain is very
from a filmmaking standpoint. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, from a filmmaking standpoint, I think that's why the first one definitely stands out. I think it's an overall better made film,
a solid film,
solid film, very well written, very well directed, wonderfully shot, great special effects, and like I said, the chemistry of the actors is amazing. So it's tough to it's tough to top that, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
let's keep that OG train rolling.
You know,
what's that, Steve?
Each film clearly has their own strengths, like
oh, for sure,
narrative, and you know, the creepiness of part 2 and part 3 has its own strengths, sound design, effects,
best story, best scares, best film of the three.
You know, I'm really
sensing a little bit of bias here.
A little bit, but I'm glad I got to revisit it, because I always never really gave it its proper due. And when I saw it again, like I said a long time ago when we first met, a few months ago, it's cool to see it every few years, because you have a whole new perspective and a whole new endearment for it. Because as you get older, you start, like what you had said before, man, like I'm older and now I'm getting all the jokes of the first one. And it's cool to revisit because it means something different, or you start realizing why you love this whole series, and you start liking everything together. It starts making sense. Like as a trilogy, it's something that doesn't get enough credit because it's really a great series, and hopefully they introduce it to a whole new fan base, and
for sure,
you know, brings awareness there.
That's why I like what you mentioned about part 2 earlier. I think part 2 actually has my favorite running gag in the entire franchise, and that's about the car. And whether or not the car is angry or happy, it's angry. The car is angry.
The car is still angry. It's more angry. You do what you want with my family, but you leave my car alone, Taylor. I do see there's a couple questions in the chat, guys, and I promise you, after Kamarra gives us her number one. We will catch up on the chat. We're not ignoring you guys.
Sorry, guys.
No, like I said, that's how we always do it. I just see there's a
Yeah.
couple questions, and we don't want you guys to think we're ignoring you, but we always go in order. And Kamarra, I would love to hear you talk about why number one is your favorite and why you're wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I will just say something really quick, kind of to piggyback off of Steve talking about Taylor, and I'm gonna butcher it, but Taylor says something really great in the second one when he and Diane are outside and he is putting on war paint on Robbie. And she's like, he's just a child and I have to teach him how to like live after this. And he's like, don't talk to him as a child. He's like, children fight wars, like children go to battle. He's like, and treating him like any other way is basically like an affront to him. And I love that moment because I was like, the whole family is in it. It's not like the parents are supposed to be protecting the children. It's like all of us are in this battle together. So we all need to be trained as if we're going to battle, including the children. So I really liked that moment.
I love Taylor and all his wisdom.
Yeah, because even Diane in that moment, you can see she's like, he's right. Like my son needs to be ready for battle and not, I don't need to be like coddling him. But I just like that moment. Number one is hands down one of my favorite movies of all time because something so beautiful just about the way it's set up. Because for the most part, I won't speak for everyone, but that's the neighborhood I grew up in. Like I knew that neighborhood. It's very serene. It's just something like it could have been any of us. And I love the way the normalcy of, like I said, the first 30 minutes is just really you getting to know the ins and outs of this family, what their daily routine looks like the interactions between the kids, the mother and father dynamic. And then you slowly start to pepper these supernatural elements in, which is great because it allows, that's why I didn't like the remake, because all of this stuff happens all at once and you're like, all this stuff just happened, fuck out, like leave. But in the first one, like all of these things are happening so slowly, like Steve said, it's fun and there's a little bit of like intrigue behind it, so you're not necessarily scared at first. It's more of a mystery to solve, and then once it starts, it just like it's off to the races. And it has so much humor in it. Like I do love when the paranormal team gets there and after they've seen the room and she's sitting at the table and her hands are shaking and she's like, well, we don't know if the like house is actually haunted, and the tea kettle's like, and she's like,
yes, dude.
And it's just like, but like they do ground it in a lot of reality. And like I love that Ryan is like you can smell the electricity, like this whole, like everything is charged, and the reality of like my child is missing, so I haven't gone to work in this entire time. Like a lot of it is just like scary stories or things that in my mind are like somewhat plausible, and this whole world that has been created is one that any one of us could step into at any moment. Moment. And that's what makes it so scary. There's some really beautifully shot scenes, like when Diane at the end hears her children screaming and she's running down the hallway that just continuously stretches and stretches, and she's just like full out running, trying to get to them. Like that's such a like awesome scene. And when the boss is there at the end and and you can see that his mind is literally just like broken. Like he can't comprehend this home like crunching in on itself, and like you can just see like he's gone, like he's completely gone. And yeah, it's just like everything about it is so beautifully done. Like as a story, it's a really well, like first, second, and third act, like everything makes sense. Like from start to end, it's a full and complete story. And if it ended there, you're like, perfect. All of the characters are really well developed for the most part. Like I know who Robbie is, like as a character. I know who their daughter is, like, because they gave them those moments. Even when what's the daughter's name? Now I can't think of it.
The teenager.
Yeah.
I know her real name is Dominique Dunn, but I can't.
I know Dominique, but when she's like, even when they're like, when the bird is
Dana, I guess I wrote my
Dana.
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 Like even when they're like burying the bird, like you get pieces of her personality while she's eating a like stick of celery. The parents are so relatable. And it just, like, you can see yourselves in these characters. And for me, that's what will always bring me back to, it's one of those movies, and I have like maybe 5 or 6, that it doesn't matter if I've just watched it. If I turn the channel and it's on another channel, I'm like, well, I guess I'll watch it again. It's on. And Poltergeist is one of them, just because it's such a, it's such a solid movie, and it holds up. Like the effects, like I love when the like things that I didn't notice as a child and I notice now, like when they are seeing the balls of light come through. I never noticed when you watch it on playback that you can actually see the people walking in that playback on the VHS video. And I was like, wow, that's great. And I think that's the beauty of a really well done movie is no matter how many times you watch it, there's something that you catch that you were not aware of before. And I find myself doing that a lot with Poltergeist. And and it's just solid. It's just a really, really great movie. It's scary. And the scares hold up, like everything. Like the clown is still very scary. The idea of like not knowing if his wife and his daughter are going to wake up in that tub, like that moment, having those relationships, like with the paranormal team, where it's just like, they're all kind of in it together. And I love that.
Right.
And yeah, so that's hands down my number one pick. And I think it's just a baller movie.
Yeah,
it is.
Absolutely. I agree.
That stairway scene that's such a Spielberg scene too, with the angelic spirit coming down the stairs and the balls of light and everything.
And the music, the score is really well done. Like it's just beautiful. Like everything lines up to make this a great movie, from the score to the camera work to the casting to the practical effects, like everything. It just checks all of these boxes.
There's really not much to complain about.
Yeah.
The only complaint I have is it's not part 3.
It's not really.
No, I think it's so funny when they're in the bathtub scene and Carol Ann is like, like she's not supposed to wake up yet. And they're like, and she's like you can see her eye is.
Oh, I know.
But,
it's so cute though.
Right, so before I let everybody go, we are going to catch up on the chat. If you guys have any questions for us, Ryan, Steve, Kamarra, please ask away. We'd love to answer those. Psycho, showers are scary. Jaws, the ocean is scary. Poltergeist, clown dolls are scary. 100% facts. Yeah.
True. Clown doll go?
I love this. Cut down on plastic waste. Use real skeletons in your movie.
Yeah.
It looks better too.
Yes, it does.
It does.
I feel you, Dice. I feel you.
Dolls are scary in general.
Yes, they are.
Very true, Russell.
Kane is fucking terrifying. The worst door-to-door dude ever.
Absolutely.
I just want to talk to you.
Or worse, Uber driver. Like, you don't want him pulling up to take you
Oh,
anywhere.
Right.
Where do you need to go?
Yeah.
I could take you to the Holy
Holy
Kingdom.
Temple.
No.
I
just wanna go to
decided I'm
Taco
gonna stay
Bell.
home. Like, yeah.
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 I could
thank
take
you.
you to the Holy Temple. Oh, so you want to go to Taco Bell too? All right, cool. Yeah, let's do it.
This is the only
I'll
guy
just
that would make me
DoorDash.
actually reconsider
Yeah.
taking the ride with the guy in the van and the candy. I'll go with him instead.
Yes,
Right.
Ricky, I did watch
Yeah.
the Smile trailer. Yes.
I can't
Yes.
wait for this movie.
Looks good.
Yeah,
Robin. And I have a friend that got an early screener, and he was like, "Bro, I was scared of this movie." He's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, some of the Smile stuff is very truth or dare-esque." He's like, "But the concept is scary." So it's skyrocketed up my most
Yeah.
anticipated of the year.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So
for
I'm
it.
very, very
Mhm.
excited to see Smile.
Most anticipated behind Halloween Ends, obviously.
Right.
Most
Right.
anticipated behind
Halloween Ends. Let's just leave it at that.
Bride of Killer
Halloween Ends.
Pinata.
Oh yeah. that's
Listen,
true.
my movie comes out on the
That's-
same day,
That's true.
and we're opening in select theaters throughout the United States on October 14th. So I'm
Oh,
ready
wow.
to see how I do
Nice.
going up
Oh,
against
my
Michael
God.
Myers. Let's see.
It's all
Let's see how I
about
do going up. I'm
love
gonna
it.
need box office results from week 1, please. Nobody
Do
give me
it.
those because I'll end up crying and wanting to kill myself.
streaming, of course. Streaming.
Your three friends.
Yeah, my 3 friends went and seen it.
Poltergeist Legacy. That's the TV show. That's
No, I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen it either.
if that's what he's talking about, Poltergeist Legacy. It used to be a TV show, like I think in the
Mm-hmm.
90s,
Oh,
that had nothing to do with Poltergeist. It was like it was a research team that looked into like paranormal happenings around. It was. I liked it. I thought it was fun. It was a fun show.
I'll have to
Might
check it
check it
out.
out.
Yeah, for sure.
Reverend Kane is the best villain of Poltergeist franchise. I would
Agreed.
go argue that he might be one of the best villains of all time when it comes to just
Yeah.
being pure
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
He even
he
and I
belongs on
get
more
it,
top
like,
10 lists. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He
For
does.
So
sure.
he definitely
And-
should
Yeah.
get an origin story. Like I would like to watch how
Yeah.
he got into
Dude.
the cave, like, and who he
That
was
would
as a
be
person.
great.
That's what
I
I,
just
mean.
don't know
Like
how
take
one-
the story in a different direction.
Mhm.
It's just crazy how one person can get almost like a cult-like following when you know they're so wrong about everything they do and say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, look, I love this right here. We're being ignored. How could you? Yes, I do. I love you guys so much.
Hi.
Oh,
We're left unattended. I left you guys on red. Coach Freeling, best horror dad. Yeah, I said coach.
Mhm.
I'm leaving
Yes.
it at coach.
Coach.
Something I find
love him.
endlessly funny about Poltergeist is my parents are also Steve and Diane. Dice, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
Very
Nice.
awesome.
That's cool.
Dice is one of those people that every time they're around, I'm super stoked.
hmm
And I need to work.
Aw.
We need to work with them more often because
Yeah.
Dice is
Nice.
just
You correct me. Like I always laugh every time you're in.
Dice is just one of the people that anytime you get the chance to be around them,
Yes.
you are absolutely going to have the most amazing time. They're somebody that
Sweet.
I genuinely, much like the 3 people here in the panel, Dice is one of the people I genuinely need to meet in person so I can shake their hand and tell them how much they mean to me in person. So
Mhm.
need to make that happen.
Us.
In person. I'm sorry. I always do that. I'm such a
awesome is
dick.
right. Oh, hey, Sparkle.
Hey, Sparkle.
What's
Nice to see you,
up?
Sparkle. No, thank you guys for coming out to the stream.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
That's
you.
what means the most. There it is.
Oh,
The Holy
Holy
Temple.
yeah, you tell him.
Your cat was the highlight of the stream. I don't know. I think anytime I get to hang out with Ryan, Steve, and Kamarra, they're the highlight of the stream.
For sure.
Binks is just a dumbass. They got trapped under
Aw,
a sheet.
Binks.
Aw.
My Binksy boy.
Yep, little Binks, little
Binks.
Thackeray
Zachary
Binks.
Binks.
Better than making people uncomfortable. A trip to New Mexico, my dudes. I'm over here. We
All
will
right,
do
guys.
it someday. If our eventual goal is for Sledgehammer Horror to be our full-time job, and when that does happen, we're gonna do a lot more traveling and
Mhm.
being
Yes,
able to meet
do
a
it.
lot more of you people in person.
Nice.
I know, Steve, we're gonna have to go see you and catch a Lions Giants game, man. So
I know. I was trying to tempt you over the weekend.
I know. He was totally like, hey, Lions Giants game. I was like, dude, don't do this to me. Next thing you know, I'm gonna be on a plane with one less ring on my finger if we keep
Oh,
conversing
no.
about this. So, again, if you guys have any more questions for Ryan, for Steve, for Kamarra, please let us know. Yes, let's do this. please.
Mm.
We'll travel around the world and hug you all. I promise.
I would love that more than anything.
Yeah,
That'd
it would be so cool.
fun.
That would be
As long as we
fantastic.
can, like, maybe the clown could just watch our kids for a couple days while we're gone.
The dog. I mean, the
Solid
dog's
idea.
We got a TV, don't we?
We do have a TV.
Yeah, we got a TV. We got a babysitter.
We come back and they're all stuck in the TV.
Yeah. Mom, Dad. All I would hear is money. All the money I'm saving.
You turn the TV off. What,
That's
kids?
Yeah.
Good night.
New TV. Who this? What was this?
That
one?
other TV.
Oh yeah, we would love to come and see you,
Ooh,
Yes.
Robin. You're another one high on
fun.
that list, buddy. Go-to method for exercising Poltergeist. I've always been a fan of the burn and run. You just burn the house down and run. Try to find something new.
But then it's not
I've
contained
never-
anymore.
Right.
I just don't know.
Now you've let
if-
it out.
I don't know if I believe in ghosts. I'm being honest here. I want to, but I just genuinely feel like if ghosts were a thing, my mom would have definitely came back and kicked it with me by now because she was like my best friend and we were like inseparable, which is weird. I know because I'm like 36 talking about how my mom was my best friend.
Yeah, that's great.
But I just feel like if
I
she
know.
could have been here still, like she would have definitely at some point been like, yo, stop it. Stop doing that, you
Yeah.
fucking idiot.
How do you know
You know?
she's not and you just haven't seen the signs?
Oh, my mom, but here's my thing.
She's
My
not
mom-
subtle.
Oh God, no.
No.
My mom was so stubborn and pig-headed. Like,
He says that I remind him of
oh,
his mother.
she is so my mom. Like when they say you marry your mom, they're so right. Like she's so stubborn and
That's funny.
pig-headed, but at the same time, I couldn't ask or have handpicked a better mother for my kids. Just like my mom. My mom was
Oh.
stubborn
Oh.
and pig-headed and a pain in the ass, but she was the perfect mom. I
Keep piling
never
on
once. Well, no, like in you know, I lost my mom 3 years ago, 2 days ago. And in the 33 years that I had her, I never once in my entire 33 years felt unloved, unneeded, taken care of. Like I always knew my mom was the shit. She was perfect. She was strong. She taught me what it was like to look up to a woman and to know that women are equal, if not better than a man. Like my mom was that person that just made me know. I was raised by a single mother and I was not easy, you know.
Yeah.
And she showed me the power that a woman can have. And, you know, I will always have, even before Ashley and I got married, the respect I have for women and the strong independence that women have that gets overlooked. You need a man for this, you need a man for that. And it's even gate kept in the horror world. You know, you have women that are huge horror fans that are like, they get questioned more because they're female. And like, you know, the strength that it takes to not punch people in the throat. Women, I don't know how you do it. Like, I don't know how you make it through your everyday life without punching someone in the throat every day. You should get one throat punch free pass a day.
You would
if
get
you're
a
female.
lot of throat punches.
Oh,
though.
I'd be dead.
Yeah.
Like my trachea would be crushed. I'd be aspirating. They'd
Look
have,
at all the
no.
stuff you've learned from me.
they'd have to put me on an incubator.
It's not an incubator. It's a ventilator.
Whatever. But yeah, have you guys seen the new Hellraiser? I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen the trailer. The movie's not out yet, is it?
Yes.
That's the one I'm looking forward to.
October
No.
8th,
Speaking of,
7th.
speaking of women, right? Because we're getting a female
Hellraiser.
Yes.
Gonna buy it.
Yeah.
I'm
beyond
excited.
badass. Like, I can't wait for that.
She looks like a badass. Like she.
Oh,
Yeah.
she looks great. Jamie
she-
Clayton.
She does.
She
Yeah,
looks
absolutely
great in this
badass.
movie.
She's
Yeah.
And
amazing.
I'm
love her.
disgusted at the amount of people that are calling this movie woke that haven't even watched the fucking movie yet. Read the original short story. The
Hellbound
Cenobites
Heart.
are asexual, and they even say in the book that they are asexual. But Pinhead, or I'm sorry, not Pinhead. What's he called in the book? The not Hellmaster.
The Hell
What's
Priest.
his name?
He's
Hell
not
Priest.
really-
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say that the Hell Priest has a
Has-
very feminine voice,
Mhm.
but they are all asexual. And now people are like, oh, they're woken up Hellraiser. Shut up! You haven't seen it. You have not seen the movie. You have no idea what time it is. And when you watch that trailer, Jamie
Yeah.
Clayton looks tough.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
watch
And
it, and
they-
I'm like, oh.
Those people clearly don't know much about Clive Barker either. So-
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like we had people calling the new Candyman a woke film.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, have you seen the fucking original?
Yeah.
And what the hell's wrong with you?
Mhm.
Read
Yeah.
a fucking book. Get off the internet. Go read a book and learn something.
Mhm.
Here for that throat punch, Law. I knew it.
Yeah.
5
5 a day?
One. Slow down. Everyone is awesome here. Steve, that's Ryan, and Kamarra, awesome as well. Ken and Ashley, y'all rock. We
you,
appreciate that,
Russell.
Russell. You are the man. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
you.
Thanks
Russell.
so
for
much.
being here
Russell.
with us
Thank you.
tonight.
Sledgehammer Horror needs to do a kids horror part 2. Yeah, we did a video of a bunch of children saying their favorite horror movies. We had people send in their kids, saying their favorite horror movies. And our whole reason behind this was, we said it in the video. Ashley articulated it very well. When we were young, it wasn't cool to like horror all the time, and we felt like outcasts because we liked horror at a young age.
Even now in like our community, it's really not that cool to like horror all the time. Like it's weird,
Right.
like the community that we live in.
And we just wanted kids to know that you're okay. You're normal. There's nothing wrong with you because you like scary stuff. And there's thousands of other kids out there just like you.
Mhm.
So we will be doing a
Yeah.
part 2. Anything
that's
we can
great.
do to make children feel better about themselves or feel accepted, Ashley and I will go the extra mile for that. That's something
Absolutely.
that we are huge advocates for. Autism is the big thing for us, and just making kids know that you have someone here for you, even if horror may not be your thing. There's always people, even in the horror world, that love you and will make sure that you're taken care of. So anything we can ever do to help children, we're on board. Children are the most beautiful, pure thing in the world, and let's fuck them up with horror, but keep them perfect.
We're just keeping them well rounded.
Yeah. To all those people, woke equals casting a woman, a person of color, or someone LGBTQ.
This is true.
And that's a fact.
This is true.
Like, we were just watching this thing where they're talking about, the Black Little Mermaid. And it's like, that doesn't go with the science. The science of mermaids?
Yeah.
What? Have you heard
A
Halle
talking
Bailey
crap.
sing?
A talking crap.
Like,
What science do you have behind a talking crap?
yeah, like, and God, Halle Bailey, like, her voice is angelic. I'm so
Yeah,
excited for this
she's
movie.
amazing.
Yeah.
She is.
Yeah.
She is.
The first Hellraiser movies are good. I'm one of the
Absolutely.
people. I
I love
dig 2
Hellraiser.
more than 1. I think Hellbound is better than the original Hellraiser. Ashley's not a fan. She doesn't like any of the Hellraiser movies. But
No?
she's gonna keep an open mind for the next one because the trailer.
The trailer has got me excited.
Which-
I'm excited for it.
I'm gonna be completely
Yeah.
honest with you. When I was young, I hated Hellraiser.
Yeah.
I despised it.
That's really what
Love
it is too.
Hellraiser.
As I watched it when I was young, it didn't intrigue me, and I haven't really given it a chance since. So maybe I'm an adult now. Maybe going back and rewatching them, I would like them more.
See,
I don't
for
know.
me, I did. I went back about a year ago and rewatched Hellraiser because a good friend of mine, Josh, was like, "Dude, you gotta rewatch that movie." 'Cause I was bitching about it, and it's right because I think what it is when I was a kid, I was such a slasher fan,
Yeah.
and I see Pinhead on the cover of this movie, and I'm like, "Oh wow!" Then you go watch it as a kid. A lot of the sadists and all that shit went over my head. I was like, "That's cool."
Mhm.
That lady's got a hammer. I guess that's all right.
It's kind of sophisticated for a young kid or a fan of slasher to
Yeah.
delve into that dimensional type of
Yeah.
horror.
It's a very different kind of horror movie compared. I mean, he still technically qualifies as a slasher, but it still doesn't feel like a traditional
Right.
slasher movie at
Yeah.
all.
Right.
Well, I
Doug
mean, you gotta
Bradley is
think about it, like,
amazing in them as well. He's just like
they
so
wanted
great.
her to be on the cover, like when
Right.
the studio was like, we want her on the cover.
And then they see. How
Or no, he wanted, Clive Barker wanted her on the cover.
And
And they were like, no, you're
Yeah.
putting the guy with the needles in his face
Right.
on the fucking cover. The guy with the
Mhm.
nails, that's your cover. And Clive fought against it. He didn't want it because he didn't want the Cenobites to be the main part of the film. I think that's why I like part 2 more. You get more backstory of the Cenobites, and I think the kills were a
What's
little bit better.
what's the wife's name? I always forget. Do you know?
You're talking about in the first one?
Yeah. Who has the
uh,
affair with the uncle?
What the fuck? It's
I
not-
love her.
I
She's
wanna-
like She's like the baddest bitch there is. She's so good.
She is too.
That was Julia.
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 Played by Claire
like,
Higgins.
I love Julia. Like when she is like, they're just
Don't we
like
have this
having
box
sex,
Yeah,
and
we have
she's
the
just
box
got like
Maybe.
blood and shit over her, and she's
Mhm.
killing dudes, and I'm like, she is pretty.
Kamarra's
damn
like,
cool.
I'll tell you this: when I have sex, I want to be covered in blood and killing dudes
Blood,
too.
I'm
That's
just
living the
shanking
dream.
people left and right, just
Yeah.
here and there.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's so good. Like, and she's one of those characters that's great because
Yeah.
you get to see like you've got these fantastical Cenobites who are just like gloriously like ghoulish and whatnot, but she can hold her own with any of those. Dude, she's just
She's
as
the real
evil.
villain of the first
Yeah.
one.
Oh, she is.
Mhm.
She's hands down. And then she becomes, I would dare to say, even better in the second one. Like
Yeah,
she
for
owns that.
sure.
Like, that.
Yeah, she really
fierce-
gets into it.
Yeah, she was like, she's begging to be a Cenobite. She's like, let's do this. I'm like
Right.
about this life. I can kill
Yeah.
dudes. I'm on it.
And I love when you get to see the professor become a Cenobite in the
Mhm.
Oh,
second
yeah.
one. And you have the Cenobite fight there with him and Pinhead. Like, oh, it's so good. So good. We got the box set. We'll just watch them all.
Let's just watch
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
all before the new one comes out.
We can
And-
watch
Yeah.
1 through
Movie
4.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually, I stuck
Sounds like
with it.
another episode that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Oh
What,
shit.
a franchise ranking?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, then
We'll
I have to
watch all of
watch
them.
Yeah.
Gotta
And
watch
then
all of
after
them.
the Jamie Clayton new
I'll
one
have
comes
to
out,
rewatch it
yeah,
again.
I would
Yeah.
love to have you guys back on for a
And you have to
Hellraiser
see
franchise ranking.
Jamie
Yeah,
Clayton is
absolutely.
amazing in Sense8.
I-
If you have not
I've
seen
only
that, she's
seen
so
Sense-
good.
I've only
Doug
seen
Bradley,
the first two.
dead serious. Jamie Clayton was just talking about this. Doug Bradley fought for Jamie Clayton to be Pinhead after watching her on Sense8.
Sense8's amazing.
He watched her
It's-
on Sense8 and he was like, that's Pinhead. That's who
Yeah,
we need to
she's
go
great.
after.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's
she
a really
looks so
strong. Everyone in Sense8 is amazing.
much
Actually,
of a pleasure would that be? You know, hey, Doug Bradley handpicked you to fill
Yeah.
his shoes.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's incredible.
I would be honored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Demons to some, angels to others. Will tear your soul apart. I'm getting this down. Give me a second. We have infinite pleasures to show you. All right, Doug, I'm getting this.
Check.
Yeah, I would love to have you guys back on for a Hellraiser franchise ranking. Well,
For
obviously,
sure.
I have to rewatch
Absolutely.
them all with Ash, and
Yeah.
'cause that's something that I feel is very, very important to actually sit down and rewatch the whole franchise. Don't watch highlights, don't
Yeah.
anything like that. We
Yeah,
like
no.
to sit
Yeah.
down and watch the whole
Yeah.
franchise.
for
If
sure.
you guys are down, maybe in November we could have you guys back on to do a Hellraiser
Absolutely.
franchise ranking. I think that
I
would
would
be
totally
so
do that.
Share.
Really
Yeah,
fun.
I still need to watch
Yeah.
some of the newer ones, but I've watched them up through Inferno.
Okay.
So
We've got the box set.
Oh,
here, so
you
we
know what
have it
else
out.
is great? Fuck, what's it called? With Julian Sands. Why did I just blank on his franchise?
Warlock.
Warlock. Fuck, I love
Yeah.
Warlock.
Yeah.
That's
See,
a really good one.
I
You
still
should
got to do.
attack
We still
that.
got to do a Warlock. We still got to do Puppet Master.
Hmm.
Oh,
Oh God.
We just. I listen. I just got the box set for Puppet Master. And we watched the 1st one. And Ashley was like, "We're not watching any more of these."
But I did.
Aw.
I did though.
I'll have to
They were
connect
going to
you
do
with
a Halloween. And
Tom.
listen, we did. I'm telling you right now, we did our horror villains. We did our March Madness, our Maniac Madness.
Mhm.
Mm.
Pinhead won it for me.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I thought Rosa Hat won it for you.
No,
Oh,
Pinhead
Rose-
went up against Rosa Hat, and Pinhead tore her soul
Rose-
apart.
Rosa Hat.
Um,
No, Rosa Hat didn't win it for me.
No, Samara won it for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pinhead went up against Rose the Hat in the finals for me, and I just think Pinhead. I think he's my favorite. Like, not my favorite villain, but if I was getting like a low down drag out fight, like you could take one horror villain, Pinhead. Pinhead, come here, tear their soul apart, fuck them up, get your chains, tear them up, and then we'll go out, we'll get some pizza. We'll go to the Holy Kingdom and we'll get some Taco Bell, whatever we gotta do.
Or the
But
Holy
Pinhead, you
Kingdom.
get in here and you help me out.
A cool character.
I do want to
because
say, guys,
you
one
can
last.
talk to him.
Mm.
Yes,
Like he has conversations
so,
with
like,
people.
so poetic, you know.
Yeah.
Like, we
Darkly
stop your
poetic, and I love it.
crying. It's a
Yeah.
waste of good suffering.
Good
Like,
tea.
oh God, I love you.
Is that that's what you say to our
Do I
kids?
look like
Yeah,
someone
that-
who cares what God thinks?
Oh,
It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite lines ever.
When I
Baller.
punish my kids, that's what I say. Stop crying. It's a waste of good suffering. I'm the badass dad.
Instead of I'll give you something to cry about. That's
Yeah.
what he says.
Yeah.
So guys, I do want to say again, thank you so much for you guys all for coming on. Everybody in the
Yes.
chat, that horror couple, Robin, Haley, hi, how are you?
Hey guys.
But I do want to say, if you guys haven't, and if you're not, all these beautiful people's social media links are down in the description. You're going to get to stay up to date on all the things that they're doing. And like I said, they're all amazing people. Ryan, his photography is fucking phenomenal. Steve, cap designer at Fright Rags, and this dude's going places. Like, his designs are on point. His Amityville hat for Jaws is one of my favorite hats of all time. I've still got to snag me one of them, Steve. We got to get together on that.
Oh shit! I'm gonna have to look that up, Steve. I love Jaws.
And, Ben needs to keep making another wave because they made a lot and they're all gone. It's
yeah. Do you still have one there so you could show it off?
I do actually. Wow.
Because this is one of my favorite hats of all time.
Ooh, I like that.
Nice.
I'd rock that.
Yeah.
I would rock that.
Hell yeah.
I try not to
That's
wear it.
great.
But I just love it too much. I don't want it to
Keep it close, Steve. Keep it close.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this guy's the lid designer over there. So, I mean, and he's going to be
nice
so much more here in the future. And he's doing so many amazing things over there. So,
yeah, we're doing some cool stuff for the winter time. Let's just say that. A lot of cool winter stuff coming out. So, yeah, in January. It's very exciting. Yeah, it's
my birthday's in January, Ashley. So I'll be rocking some of that shit. So not only because you're my friend and I respect you, but dude, the shit that you make is dope. I wouldn't buy it and put it on my body just because you're my friend.
I've really become a hat person too. Lately.
Yeah.
Like
I love your designs. Like, they're organic, they're original. You're not just biting on other people's shit. Like, I love what you do. And obviously a company like Fright Rags respects you and admires you enough to bring you in to be their designer. You're doing the right shit, man. And we've talked about this together. I'm so proud of you. And you can only go up from what you're doing, man. So you guys can stay up to date on that with these links in the description. Now, my girl Kamarra, like, this girl, I've known Kamarra for a year and a half maybe now. And she's one of the busiest ladies in the business. Trying to lock her down to do an episode with us was such a hard thing. And we were finally able to do this. And we talk about love and respect and the amount of love and respect I have for people in the community. You three are three people that I'm always talking to. I'm always conversing with. Hey, how are you doing? Like I said, Ryan, we're setting up a photo shoot for us to do. Might see me in a shower scene, maybe, possibly. And like Kamarra, like she's one of those people that every time I'm learning about these new projects she's a part of, she's working with some of the people that we've looked up to for a very long time, whether it be Dave Sheridan, Felissa Rose, Hannah Fearman. Kamarra's in there rocking with these people, and she's becoming in that inner circle of these amazing horror people. And that's not something to poo-poo at, Kamarra. I'm also so proud of you because you're living a dream that all of us have had since we were kids. And on top of that, you're still one of the most genuine women I've ever had the chance to be a part of, in their life. And I'm just glad that you haven't let how amazing you've become go to your head and stop talking to us little people. So,
I'm too good for you guys.
Yeah. So you still take time.
We know you are, but thank you.
Well, hopefully we get to hang out in Salem.
Yes, we're hoping. God, that'd be so
that would
dope.
be awesome.
I want to do that in Sleepy Hollow. That's like the dream if I can get there.
Go to Sleepy Hollow. That's like 20 minutes from where I live. So
shit, Steve, let's do it.
Don't be a stranger.
Done deal.
That would be dope.
Yeah.
Oh snap.
Oh yeah. If you guys do that, get pictures so I can Photoshop myself in there like an Adam Levine DM.
Can live vicariously.
Yeah.
Right.
There it is. That Jaws hat is amazing. Like it is. Like the first time Steve showed that to me, I was like, dude, I gotta get me one of them Jaws hats because that's the dopest fucking hat I've ever seen in my life.
Let us know when they re-release so we can grab
it.
Please.
I wore it when they just did the IMAX release. I was like, man.
Yeah.
That's sick.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Nice.
What's this? Hold on. Sorry, Al. I used to go to the Washington Irving Estate for Halloween every year. That would be sick.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm stoked that we get to go to Salem, and I'm really hoping that we got some more love for the Jaws cap. I get it. I love that hat so much. I'm hoping really that we get to meet up with you, Kamarra. There's a couple other really good friends we want to meet up with, like Mika, Kira. So I mean, like, that's one thing for me that, like, I love Salem, and my wife loves Salem, and being in Salem and I get to see my wife that happy makes my weekend. But I would also love to be able to meet up with you guys that I don't get the chance to see all the time, and it would just be amazing to finally shake your hand and say, "Hey, it's so nice to see you in person."
We don't shake hands; we hug. Hugger.
Oh, trust me, I'm the hugger. I hug everybody to a fault. I'm like, "Hi, it's nice to meet you," and I hug someone, and they're like, "Oh, that wasn't fun." I'm like, "Oh, let me give you an apology hug. I'm sorry I did that." So
wait, what's your name?
Yeah, right.
Who are you? Why are you hugging me?
Right. Wait, so you're not my father? Oh, well, let me give you that third apology hug. I'm sorry again. So you guys in the panel, please don't go anywhere. Everybody else, I want to say this one last time. Follow these amazing people on social media. The links are right in the description. All you gotta do is click and follow, because I promise you, you're gonna love everything they do. And Dice, when I see you, you're getting the biggest freaking hug ever. So everybody else, as always, keep talking horror.
Stay who you are.
And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys.
Nice.